I'm Opal Lee, and we don't want anybody to forget that Juneteenth is a unifier.
Yeah, I got it's time to unite. Yeah, hey, it's time to unite. This world is so dark, together we shine like 4th of July. Hey,
Miss Opal Lee is 94 years old.
There's nothing holding her back.
Juneteenth is not just for black folks, it's for everybody. But Juneteenth is a time for the nation to reconcile itself with its past, because you cannot heal what you won't face.
Let's be the change that we want to see. We're taking a stand. What we believe.
Hello and welcome to the second annual Opal's Walk for Freedom Live, brought to you by Unity Unlimited Incorporated and presented by Heal America, right here in the city of Fort Worth, home to the grandmother of Juneteenth, Dr. Opal Lee. I'm your co-host, NBC5 Today's in Dallas, Fort Worth, Laura Harris.
Yeah, I'm Deborah Ferguson. So glad to be with you on this beautiful Saturday morning, hosting this fantastic program, this fantastic occasion, June 18th, 2022. We are in the city of Fort Worth, where the West begins, and all because of a little old lady in tennis shoes who we all love and who gets in everybody's business, and we are okay with that.
It is a good thing that she's in everybody's business. Dr. Opal Lee, a retired educator and active social impact leader, started advocating for Juneteenth to be a national holiday after her retirement, now more than 40 years ago.
I know that's something, that you would think that, hey, I'm stepping away from education, I'm stepping away from my career, I'm just going to maybe sit on the porch, have a glass of iced tea, that you're just going to kick your heels up. That was not the case with Dr. Opal Lee. She has, for 40 years, Laura, decided to get into community action to make a difference, not just for the city of Fort Worth, but for this entire country, and making it her mission that Juneteenth be recognized as a national holiday.
And has never quit, because it was when she was 90 years old, Ms. Opal Lee started a campaign to raise awareness of the importance of the Juneteenth holiday, traveling on her feet across the country 2.5 miles at a time.
And we will get into the significance of that 2.5 miles throughout this program, but it just shows you how that when you are committed to a mission, when you are committed to making change, even if you're one person, you can do it. You can make that difference.
And that's exactly what Dr. Opal Lee did. And did you know that Dr. Lee is the oldest living board member of the National Juneteenth Observance Foundation? It's a national movement started by the late Dr. Ronald Myers to have Juneteenth declared a national holiday.
Yeah, a movement started so long ago, and now here we are celebrating the first anniversary of the Juneteenth federal holiday. Dr. Opal Lee walking today to remind us of the reason that we celebrate this, not just in the state of Texas, but all across this country. This is a time when we celebrate the 12 freedoms that those who were once enslaved gained through the Emancipation Proclamation.
Yeah, and a lot of people just don't know even what those 12 freedoms are and what was stated in that document. And those who are aware often take them for granted. So today, we are going to look at each of these as we walk alongside this extraordinary woman.
Yeah, it continues to seem like her work never stops, because she's always in there, in the action. You talk about a crowd, Opal Lee is going to be in the center of it. And along with her today is our 10 p.m. co-anchor, Brittany Johnson, who has the great privilege of walking beside the legendary Dr. Opal Lee. How's it going out there? I can't imagine the energy, Brittany.
Hey there. Oh, so much energy. People are so excited. Just a sea of supporters and community members here behind us. You can see they're ready to start this 2.5 mile walk that symbolizes and marks the 2.5 years that people who were enslaved here in Texas remained enslaved beyond the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. So this is a huge moment for Dr. Opal Lee, who I have right here with me. She's ready to get started. She told me she's ready for this walk. Dr. Opal Lee, thank you for everything that you've done for us. How are you feeling this morning?
I'm really in what they call the peak. I'm in good shape. And we're going to make this 2.5 mile walk from this right here down to Pier 1. That's the new City Hall. And I want you all to come and follow us, because then we're going to Panther Island. And we got all kinds of things at Panther Island. I'm going to be there till the fireworks start.
All right, she's going to be there till the fireworks start. Thank you so much. We're ready to get walking, and we'll be walking right alongside you.
All right, all right. Oh, we've got such a wonderful group of people here. Hundreds and hundreds of people. How soon we gonna get started?
Right now.
All right, let's do it.
Well, it has begun. I don't blame her. How soon are we going to get started? That's how we feel
She is
too.
in the pink.
The second annual Opal's Walk for Freedom, brought to you by Unity Unlimited Inc. and presented by Heal America, right here in the heart of Cowtown. Unity Unlimited Inc. is the nonprofit that brings us today's event and so many other Juneteenth programming.
Yeah, we also want to thank JCPenney and Noom for stepping up as national sponsors of the 2022 Opal's Walk for Freedom as we celebrate Juneteenth, yes, in the city of Fort Worth, home to the legendary grandmother of Dr. Opal Lee, but we celebrate this holiday all across the United States of America. Laura talked about United Unlimited Incorporated. Again, big thank you, shout out to that nonprofit, doing a lot of good works for folks across the nation. If you're thinking, hey, I want to be part of something doing good work, you can do that. This is a nonprofit organization. You can support their initiatives by following the QR code that you see there below.
And Unity Unlimited Inc. has contributed so much to our communities, from the annual Ms. Juneteenth DFW pageant to the annual Your Voice Unleashed workshop for kids to develop their creative voices. And of course, all of Dr. Opal Lee's incredible work for Juneteenth, closing the gap of food disparities and advocating for equal education. Now, happening right now, you can see Dr. Opal Lee coming down the streets here, walking down with so many people behind her. The Samaria Baptist Church Choir delivering their a cappella rendition of the Black National Anthem.
Yeah, Samaria Baptist Church in Fort Worth, led by Pastor William McKinley Jackson. He has a passion for the ministry of music, and it is appropriate that they are now singing Lift Every Voice and Sing. Lyrics written by the author and activist James Weldon Johnson, and then his brother John Rosamond Johnson wrote the music. This has happened at the turn of the century, Laura. The lyrics so eloquently capturing the solemn yet hopeful appeal for the liberty of Black Americans.
Yeah, lift every voice and sing. You know, that song was written during an important time in American history. We're talking about when Jim Crow was replacing slavery, and Black people still weren't given the freedoms that other people had and that they were supposed to have. They were searching for an identity of their own.
Yeah, and in this song that we now hear across the country, you really see a great example of the American spirit of hope, so emblematic of this nation's great endeavor to offer freedom to all of its citizens, regardless of race, creed, or religion.
And it represents one of the 12 freedoms that we talked about in the beginning, the freedom to read and write. I have to be honest with you, in 2022, it is still hard to believe that there were people, Black men and women, who could not legally learn how to read or write in this country.
Yeah, states that were fighting to hold on to slavery began tightening the laws back in the 1830s. There was a fine of $250, about $7,600 in today's money, if you were reading and writing and you were an African American. Despite all these consequences, though, many of those who were enslaved continued to read and to write. And then after the Civil War, we saw classrooms opening up where children were finally taught to learn to read and write. Just quintessential to this country, to empowering, to moving forward. It's our Constitution, it's our Declaration of Independence that makes this young country of the United States of America so very special in the world.
And carrying that message, Juneteenth reminds us to always celebrate those freedoms.
Yes, and we are doing that today, celebrating here in Fort Worth, taking a look now as the crowd moves from Evans Plaza to, Opal Lee said, the new City Hall, Evans Plaza, quite significant for the city of Fort Worth, kind of the space and the place where many African Americans who contributed to the 13th largest city in the country are remembered with plaques, with bricks on the ground, Laura, that say their names, so we can all continue to learn about their great work.
Yeah, and as I watch Dr. Opal Lee walk right now, it's hard for me not to think of, you know, when we talk about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we say that's now a day on.
Right.
It's not just a day off. It's a day on for you to do something to help your community. It takes a lot to make a federal holiday, which is what Dr. Opal Lee has done. And she has used this as a day on, even when it wasn't a day off.
Right. She has been celebrating Juneteenth way back when she grew up as a kid in Marshall, Texas, in East Texas, continued celebrating in Fort Worth, and decided, you know what, this doesn't need to be just my celebration, a Texas celebration. This needs to be an American celebration. Didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of work, and the merits of what we're experiencing now has to be so clear.
Yeah, and tirelessly to show us why Juneteenth, not just that it is a holiday, but why Juneteenth wasn't just a Texas thing, just for Black people to celebrate, but an American thing. She fought for 4 decades until last year, just days before Opal's Walk for Freedom. President Joe Biden signed into law Juneteenth as the 11th federal holiday, just days before the holiday itself, and invited Dr. Lee to the White House to be recognized as who we know her already as, the grandmother of Juneteenth.
Yeah, she had fought for so long for it. I think that in her heart, Laura, she probably knew it was going to happen. Someday it would. Unexpected when it did, but so very, very long overdue. But all done through the 12 freedoms gained in the Emancipation Proclamation, specifically the freedom to vote, the freedom to legislate and govern.
Right, so she campaigned both in traditional government through her post as precinct chair and through social media, as well as change.org. She received 1.5 million signatures for that petition. I want you to take a look here at Dr. Opal Lee at the historic event she helped to manifest last year at the White House.
This is the pen that President Biden used to sign Juneteenth into law. I'm Opal Lee, and I've had this marvelous day at the White House. The young people would say, it's off the chain. I knew I was coming because Juneteenth had been made a national holiday, and the president was signing the bill into law, and I was invited to the signing of that bill.
Looking out across this room, I see the advocates, the activists, the leaders who have been calling for this day for so long, including the one and only Miss Opal Lee.
Over the course of decades, she's made it her mission to see that this day came. She's walked for miles and miles, literally and figuratively, to bring attention to Juneteenth, to make this day possible.
You cannot imagine how joyful, how humble, how magnificent the whole thing has been. There may be some of you who don't know what Juneteenth is. The enslaved in Texas were told they were free for 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation freed them. They'd watch in their churches and they'd pray for freedom to come. And it finally did. When General Gordon Granger and 7,000 colored troops from New Jersey and New York made their way to Galveston, Texas. And he read General Order Number 3 that said all slaves are free. When those people came in from their labor and somebody read that to them, we started celebrating, and we've been celebrating ever since. Juneteenth is not a Texas thing. It's not a Black thing. We're talking about freedom for everyone.
And taking a live look back out at the streets of Fort Worth right now with Dr. Opal Lee. Deborah, I need you to tell that story that you just told me. That you had talked to Dr. Opal Lee earlier this week, and she was telling a story about the churches on watch.
Yeah, they would have watch nights, waiting for the word to come. The Emancipation Proclamation had arrived, and I just, you know, the word is out there for everybody else except for you.
Except for you.
Except for you. And when it finally happened in Galveston, Texas, I can't imagine the joy, Laura, that there was that day. But you see her there walking and going through it. You hear about this in 2016. She starts this walk to D.C. where she leaves Fort Worth. Her destination is, of course, D.C. She's going to get there, take these signatures with her. And a lot was made about the fact that it was 133 days, 1,400 miles. I remember when we covered her, when she took those first steps, in 2016. And everybody talks about 1,400 miles. Well, I was just reading in a Vanity Fair article. She's so cute. She says, she goes, I did some hundreds of them, but not 1,400. She took little stops along the way, but that's okay. She was 90, when she finally made that happen. And, and here's still she is. Texas, known for heat. We're going to be 100 degrees here today, Laura. 85 probably where it is right now. And she's out there marching quite along with him, seeing change happen, and just how special that it is.
And leading the charge there, as you can see her there. And what I love about this picture that we're seeing with Dr. Opal Lee right now is that there are young people too. Her message is for all generations to continue to carry it on. It's not just about one legacy, but everyone's legacy.
Exactly. She's a rock star, and people want to be along with her. And it's exciting to see that, there are people willing to walk beside her, not just in her hometown of Fort Worth, but across the country, willing to see change, wanting to see change, pushing for change. And then for Dr. Opal Lee, to see it, that all of her hard work continues to bear fruit.
Yeah, it's funny that you should mention that, because she will tell us, we still have a lot of work to do. It's like, but you've made a federal holiday such an important part of those freedoms that gain, though, with the Emancipation Proclamation. Just so many. She's the only living American whom some say is solely responsible for creating a federal holiday, and maybe President Joe Biden's #1 civic collaborator. And how's that legendary woman doing right now, Brittany?
She is doing well. We've been trying to give her her space. I'm going to step in, though, to get a real-time check, because someone recently said to me, there's no wind out here. I'm going to show you what she's doing right now, because we talked about this during a visit earlier this week, that when she needs just a little bit of help, she likes to hold on to the stroller here. So she knew that this young little lady was going to be here today, and that this would be an opportunity for her to lean on the stroller, but also push this young lady forward the same way that she is pushing and propelling all of us forward. So I'm going to check in with her now that she's, you're leaning on your prop. You told me you were going to do this. How are you feeling right now?
Real good. And I'm thanking Grace Renee from coming all the way from Houston for her great-great-grandma.
This is little Grace Renee all the way from Houston, helping her great-great-grandma, the legendary voice of the community, Opal Lee. We've now rounded a couple of corners. I heard someone ask you, how many steps are you going to take? And I don't think you. And what was the answer?
All of them.
All of them. Thank you. All of the steps. That's our goal with all these people behind her. Laura, Deborah, we'll send it back to you all.
She said all of them. She's going to take all of them, Brittany. Right. We love to see it. And keeping an open mind while she's doing it. And Deborah, as we've always said, keeping an open mind is not a bad idea.
Yeah, exactly. I think we all need to have an open mind, because when you do, then you are open to change, creating change, and hopefully changing a few people along the way with you.
Speaking of, would you believe that Juneteenth is not Dr. Opal Lee's only effort? She's constantly working to defend against food inequities, face down homelessness, and so much more, especially in our community. Her mind, her heart, and her sweat and tears is open to almost everyone. Dr. Opal Lee currently serves on the board of Unity Unlimited, Inc. and Transform 1012 North Main Street, as well as a board member and honorary chair of the soon-to-be National Juneteenth Museum.
That will be such a day of pride and celebration when it finally opens. And along the way, Dr. Lee, there's a reason why we call her Dr. Lee. She has received 3 honorary doctorates. Texas Christian University was one of them. Texas Wesleyan University was one of them. She has been named 2021 Texan of the Year by the Dallas Morning News editorial board. And I just have to tell you this, Laura, about what the Dallas Morning News, one of this country's great papers, said about her in 2021. In a life that has now marked 95 years in a country where she was born with every disadvantage except for the love and support of her family and her own indomitable determination to live fully for others, Opal Lee has changed her community. Truer words had never been spoken about that woman. Also, by the way, her hometown of Fort Worth, Inc., named her Person of the Year. And the accolades keep coming.
Yeah, and that's the part. I think the fact that this is transcending not just generations, but across the country.
Right.
There are so many people who don't live in Fort Worth, who don't just live in Texas, that now know what Juneteenth is, because of Dr. Opal Lee. And I hope you keep an open mind with that as well. If you're watching us, of course you do. Opened up for this one most recently. Dr. Opal Lee was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. She just doesn't stop. So let's take a look at some of the other accomplishments that she has had.
You're never too old to try to do good.
Tonight, we want to introduce you to Opal Lee, the 93-year-old activist and lifelong Texan who has campaigned to make June 19th a national holiday for years.
If you tell her that you have a need, she's gonna meet it, and she's gonna go to anybody that she can think of that can meet that need.
But she figures out how to do it, and she stays with it until she gets it done.
If we were to document all those differences, all those times that she's made a difference, we would run out of paper with Opal Lee.
She really is what a tapestry of community work looks like at 94.
She's a trailblazer, and she has this sense of you keep going no matter what.
What heroism is someone that goes over and above, all right, the call of duty to do something for someone else.
I'm Opal Lee. I've had these passions.
The community food bank.
Opal's Farm.
United Riverside.
And one of them is Juneteenth.
She got here in 1939. They were able to buy the house on Annie Street. It was a white area of town. They were at home, and the mob came on June 19th to put them out of their house. That had to be the catalyst that made Juneteenth so important to her, that on this day that we're supposed to be celebrating freedom from slavery, that her house gets demolished, burnt up by an angry white mob that doesn't want them in that neighborhood.
Their family stayed here. She's made freedom the celebration instead of focusing on the oppression.
If you don't understand where you've been, then you don't know where you're going. They had the idea to bring back having a Juneteenth celebration, to make sure that, we don't forget to celebrate.
There's folks coming together. There's good food.
There were fireworks in the streets.
She's been doing Juneteenth for over 45 years.
As a kid, felt like to me, it was about the celebration. And as an adult, it's more about what I learned about Juneteenth through celebrating Juneteenth.
Juneteenth is more than a Texas thing. Juneteenth needs to be celebrated across the country. And she felt that if a little old lady, almost 90, because she was 89 at the time, started walking to D.C., someone would take notice.
Did a lot of walking on it, and made a lot of stops in a lot of cities.
We created a petition for Juneteenth to be a national holiday on change.org.
Social media and all the social media platforms, word gets out.
She's building for people and with people. You can't stop that. You can't stop love, you know what I mean? And why would you want to?
Lupita from Black Panther, Usher, Bernie Sanders, Danny Glover, Nico Brim. P. Diddy wants to talk to Miss Opal.
I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of you, Mama.
I am moved, probably as many people are, by her strength. But I think I'm more moved by her humanity.
She'll tell you, none of us are free until we're all free, and we're not free yet.
This is our town and we live here, then what are we gonna make a stand for? What are we gonna improve? How are we gonna help people?
You can do something right now in your own community and impact one life, one stomach, one education.
Opal's a legend, period, in our community, and the world's better off because of her, in Fort Worth especially.
And I'm hoping people, if they don't learn anything else about me, will know to help somebody else. I just hope that will happen.
I feel like giving a round of applause.
I know, right?
After that, yeah. All right, so we continue to go back now live to the Opal's Walk for Freedom. There she is leading the charge, 95 years old, weathering this hot Saturday morning. You see there, you're thinking, well, who's that little baby down there? We met her a little bit earlier. That is Grace Renee, Opal Lee's great-great-granddaughter from Houston, here to be part of it. And look, and I love the support team here, Laura, that she's got. She's got one woman giving a fan to her side, another one, spraying some mist back there. You got to. And like she said, like she told Brittany, she's going to walk every step of this 2.5 miles today.
She's
absolutely
not going to rest. And if I want you to take a look at this picture now, because this is a beautiful shot here. You can see kind of down the hill there, fire trucks. There's police vehicles. This is just showing kind of the unity of this community, all of Fort Worth coming out to represent what Dr. Opal Lee has been working towards for so long. And we're talking about representing all people, representing Juneteenth in the city of Fort Worth.
Yeah, I think back what we heard from her, her granddaughter kind of giving the history of how, her first Juneteenth, on Juneteenth when she was living in Fort Worth, how this mob came and torched their house. And her family, Laura, could have said, we're moving, we're getting out of here. But they stayed, and she has continued to make a difference in the community, and not just with her neighbors, but throughout. She has lots of relationships. You heard from some of them in that piece, lots of relationships. One of her strongest is with the police chief in Fort Worth, Neil Noakes. I mean, one of the reasons why he got the chief's job was because of his connection to community, and I'm going to guess in part to his connection to Opal Lee.
Yeah, well, that too, but Deborah, you are from Fort Worth. You've been there for years. What is something that you have really noticed, though? Because, I mean, when I see Dr. Opal Lee, I've only lived in the area for 3.5 years. I knew who she was once I moved here.
Yeah.
But Deborah, it's almost like she's an icon. She's a living icon. We can see that from this walk here, but how has she been able to do it? I mean, you were at an event with her just this week, and it's like she's a rock star. Everybody's taking pictures of her. It's amazing.
I think part of, Laura, is, how like when you live in a community, you live in a town, other people come and visit and they go here and they go there, but you don't really appreciate the treasures you have until somebody else kind of shines the spotlight on it. And I think there were many people. I've been a reporter here for decades in Fort Worth, so a lot of us, many people knew of Opal Lee, could see her works, but the spotlight just continued to shine so much brighter. When she did that walk to D.C., when that happened, and she is a rock star. Wherever she goes, people want to be there. I don't care if it's, walk beside her today or be there to get her autograph. We were looking at that live picture just a little bit ago. We talked about the Fort Worth Police Chief Neil Noakes. He has joined the route as everybody else, walking right alongside Chief Noakes there. Chief Noakes, there on the left side of your screen, walking with her today.
And then you see our Brittany Johnson right there as well. Brittany, I know that you're with the chief right now. Can you maybe tell us how things are going down there and why it's so important for the chief to be there too?
Sure. Well, the chief and many other Fort Worth officers, they're guiding the crowd, but they're also a part of the crowd and a part of this community. Chief, you're wearing two hats today because, yes, you lead the police department, but you're also here as a friend of Dr. Opal Lee. Can you talk to me about the meaning of all of this, your relationship and you all's presence here today when we know that police-community relationships so important?
Oh, it's absolutely critical. What really means a lot to me is the relationship I have with Miss Opal, because sometimes you meet someone who can so fundamentally change the way people see themselves, the way they see others, the way they see the world. I mean, the way they see what's possible. Miss Opal Lee is one of those people. She's a game changer. What she's done here in Fort Worth has not just affected us. This has got international implications, and it's meant the world. It's absolutely meant the world.
Definitely meant the world. And when you think about all the people that are behind her, I have to tell you all, as we came over that hill, people were cheering to see this 95-year-old woman come over a huge hill in this heat. Just her example of unity and perseverance. How have you seen that inspire people in this community?
It inspires everyone because she doesn't just talk the talk. She walks the walk. She leads by example. And the thing is, it's really amazing. She's not done yet. She's doing more. You think after Juneteenth she would be done? She's doing more every day.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time in this moment here to speak to us. And as he said, she is walking the walk quite literally right now. So we're going to continue showing you all every step that she takes through this and the unifying work that she is doing here in the community and how it's just really setting the tone, setting the pace for so many. We've got so many wonderful people to share with you. We can't wait to show you more. But for now, I'm going to send it back in to you, ladies.
All right, Brittany, thank you. And listen, it's not lost on us that it's so hot outside that it would be extremely hot for either one of us to get out there and do what Dr. Opal Lee is doing, 2.5 miles in Fort Worth right now.
Right.
But Deborah, we just got a little story about how she was able to stay fit during the height of the pandemic when nobody wanted to leave their house. She didn't.
She did it. I had the opportunity to have a virtual interview with her from her home, and I asked her, you know, how are you doing? How's it going? And she goes, I'm keeping strong. She found a route inside of her house that she could walk indoors to walk a mile at a time to keep up her strength. She was also encouraging older folks, you've got to keep your energy. You've got to lift those weights. You got to get your body strong. You know, your mind sometimes, you know, is strong, but you got to get your body strong to keep doing all the things that you want to do. And she has a long list of stuff that she wants to do, Laura. But yeah, she takes her health seriously. Let me tell
Yes,
you.
she does, physically and mentally strong, and you can see that in this synergy that we're seeing in Fort Worth right now.
Yeah, she is just, you know, an incredible testimony in so many ways. I mean, you heard Chief Notes talking about how she's a game changer. I mean, and leaders respond to her. I mean, if she sees an issue, she just picks up the phone, you know, calls, and people are there to help. But she's earned that respect. She has earned, you know, that privilege of being able to call and get something done because of the hard work she's done.
Yeah, you talk about Chief Noakes. He just said she fundamentally changes the way that people see themselves and the way that they see others.
Yeah.
And that's so important in a place where we need so much healing. That can happen through these kinds of relationships that he was just talking about. Not ignoring the issues in our communities, but facing them head on, understanding that they're happening, they do exist, but if we work together, we can all grow from them.
Yeah, Dr. Lee's just an incredible testimony to that kind of healing. Her work with United Unlimited Incorporated, her work with the national organization Heal America, all trying to move this country forward.
Yeah, and I think our NBC5's Brittany Johnson is joined now by the Reverend Dr. DeForest Soaries Jr., who was formerly the senior pastor of First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens in Somerset, New Jersey, since November 1990. His pastoral ministry focuses on spiritual growth, educational excellence, and economic empowerment.
From 1999 to 2002, Dr. Soaries served as New Jersey's Secretary of State, and this is important because he was the first African-American man to do that. He's also served as the former chair of the United States Election Assistance Commission, which was established by Congress to implement the Help America Vote Act of 2002.
Can't wait to hear what he has to say. Brittany is with Dr. Soaries now. Brittany?
I am with Dr. Soaries, who is not sweating, so we're going to have to ask him his magic behind that. But he also just told me we can call him Buster. Dr. Soaries, Buster, thank you so much for your time today. So good to have you.
I came all the way from New Jersey because this is a global celebration.
Yes.
Not a black celebration, not a Texas celebration, but global. And I'm so excited to be a supporter. Heal America is here to support Opal Lee, the community that fights for freedom, and those people that want to break barriers and bring people together through love and redemption.
That is so important to Dr. Lee, that this be for everyone, freedom for everyone. Can you talk to us more about the work that you all do? As you mentioned, people across the country are seeing this. Talk to us about the work that Heal Unlimited does.
Well, there's so much rancor in the country today, but locally there are little examples of Opal Lees who are doing healing, who are working with young people, who are reducing violence, who are bringing community and police together as we see today. And what Heal America does is find those people, support them, give them resources, form a network so that we can, in fact, heal America.
So important, and I think, as you mentioned, we've got that community all around us, right? Community members, her sorority sisters, politicians, police officers, all here together. And when you talk about that example of having little opals all around us, what would you say to the next little opal, maybe who's watching this, about how they can be a part of this movement, be a part of change?
Here is what's so impressive about today. Opal Lee was doing this long before the camera showed up, long before Heal America showed up. Just family and friends, starting with 20 or 30 people, marching every year to celebrate Juneteenth, walking from Texas to Washington. And what this says is that if you are consistent and passionate, you can yield results. This is the result of 20 to 30 years of hard work that she's done. So it didn't just start with the signing of the legislation.
Right.
The signing of legislation was an outcome of hard work on the ground, solutions that came from the bottom up. And that's what young people should know. It's not going to change, doesn't happen overnight, but change can happen.
Dr. Soares. Buster, thank you for your time today. And as he said, you've got all these people here working for change, groups like Unity Unlimited, Heal America, working together 365 days a year in that show of support for our community. Ladies.
Working together, we're watching this live picture right now and seeing Dr. Opal Lee leading all of these people down the streets of Fort Worth. Deborah, again, I'm going to defer to you because you're from Fort Worth. Tell us where they are, Deborah.
Well, I've kind of been watching it. Yeah, so they left Southeast Fort Worth there at Evans Plaza, and I think that they have crossed. They would come over an overpass that crosses Interstate 35.
Got it. Okay.
As they continue to kind of make their way towards the downtown area and what will be the new City Hall in Fort Worth. A lot of folks are familiar with Pier 1. Pier 1 was Fort Worth was the headquarters for Pier 1, so that's where they're going to, that building that once stood, which will become the new City Hall.
And it looks like we've got a little bit of emotion right here, but Dr. Opal Lee has just stopped for a moment. We've been seeing her doing that, kind of wiping her brow and getting some water. Her great-granddaughter, Grace Renee, is asleep. We love it. She's Okay, so right now, what you're looking at right now, the ambulance is there. Nothing wrong. They're just checking her vitals, making sure everything's going well. If you're 95 years old, and you're in the 90-degree heat in Texas, and you got
just smart to do.
I need to check my vitals every now and again. So it's a good thing to do. They're just making sure everything is good. Looks like she's getting some cold towels right now. But it's once again a testament to how strong this woman is, Deborah.
You know, Lauren, and I think too, I just get a little teary-eyed looking at this because I think to have a paramedic and a firefighter there with her, it just shows what a treasure this woman is. And they want to make sure that she is taken care of as she continues to lead all the people here on this 2.5-mile walk. This is her granddaughter, Dion Sims, who's been quite instrumental in helping Opal Lee push her message forward and really getting her in front of a lot of the crowds and a lot of audiences, which we see her around the country. But again, it is a very, very hot day. You see there, Miss Lee wiping her brow, just taking a minute, as I think any of us would, Laura. You're a runner. You sometimes have to take a minute when you're out there in the heat.
Yeah, but I tell you what, at 95, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I can just do half of what she's doing.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Another thing that she often does is leads the community.
She does. And it takes organizations like the nonprofit Unity to push beyond some of the things that have held so many communities back. But as Dr. Lee has shown us, continues to show, she rises above them. And we can all use our voices to help.
We have so many examples of how people are using their voices throughout history, and often especially, the further back you go in African-American history, those voices haven't always been lifted up as much as people would have liked them to be, or immediately. And I think that's the big part to listen to. There's so many people who were saying, this is not right, we deserve this, but so many people who just weren't listening.
Yeah, and we do have today one such voice who captured a moment in our history so vulnerably that it resonates more than 150 years later. Watch this with us.
The sale began. Young girls were there, defenseless in their wretchedness, whose stifled sobs of deep despair revealed their anguish and distress. And mothers stood with streaming eyes and saw their dearest children sold. Unheeded rose their bitter cries, while tyrants bartered them for gold. And a woman, with her love and truth, for these in sable forms may dwell, gazed on the husband of her youth with anguish none may paint or tell. And men, whose sole crime was their hue, the empress of their maker's hand, and frail and shrinking children too were gathered in that mournful band. Ye who have laid your loved to rest and wept above their lifeless clay, know not the anguish of that breast, whose loved are rudely torn away. Ye may not know how desolate our bosoms rudely forced apart, and how a dull and heavy weight will press the life drops from the heart.
Wow, wow, wow. Just powerful, moving there. What you all just saw was an incredible adaptation of the slave auction. That's by Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, led there by the striking and someone we know locally there, Christine Sanders. She's an SMU alum. But we also have here Lucretia Johnson here, a part of this as well. And it's just so moving. And it's great to be able to show people what really happened through art. Can you talk to us about what it's like to be a part of bringing that to life?
It's absolutely amazing. When storytelling through film, it gives that visual that actually touches people's heart. And that particular piece, it took us all the way back to something that was so real, that was so horrific, to be torn away from your families. And as an actor, you have to pull deep within yourself to get the emotions that you need. But when you see it done like that, it's very simple, because your heart, if you have a heart, you can't help but to feel.
You can't help but to feel. So let's talk about the opposite, taking from what's happening and what you're able to do and pull through your art into real life when it's not 150 years ago, but it gets rough. It gets rough. And how do you pull on what you are doing through your art in real life?
What I do is I just study the environment, and I want people to realize and see what's actually happening in the world today. You know, a lot of this is taught behavior, and no one is better than the next person. And in my art, I try to display that in every role that I play. And this particular role itself, it's something that I believe in, you know. It was just a very, very powerful piece, and to share it today on this particular day, I mean, it just does my heart.
We appreciate you for sharing your artistry with us, your love for storytelling, and all the work you've put in this. We got a couple of other cast members here. If you don't mind, guys, I'm just going to check I'm going to ask just very quickly, what does it mean for you to be here today?
It means everything. I mean, Juneteenth is a celebration of everything that we've gone through, and not only what Miss Opal Lee has done for the community, but for every black person that didn't have a voice. So I'm just happy to be a part of it.
All right, and we're happy that you're here, as he mentioned, for everyone. This is for everyone. Laura, Deborah.
All right, Brittany, thank you. It's so true what Brittany was just talking about there. The narrative is shaped by the narrator, and it seems obvious, but people lose sight of it all the time.
Exactly. You got to have every voice at the table. And I think we have to be diligent about looking at the sources of these stories for authenticity. We need to be able to recognize it.
And see that valuable authenticity anytime we look at Dr. Opal Lee. I know many of you are probably sitting at home saying, okay, how's she doing? How's things going? We're looking at her right now. She's back on the move. They've got MedStar right next to her, the ambulatory service, making sure that everything's all right, but she's definitely moving right now. I want to go back, though, to talking about the filmmakers behind that adaptation on today's live stream event. Adam and Elliot, they work hard to capture that authenticity that we see with Dr. Lee and showcasing these important stories. These filmmakers have a long-standing connection to our community, growing up in Arlington and building their business in Fort Worth for many years in the theater and then moving into film. They've made a lot of Hollywood films, but continue to tell the stories from the community that they are from.
Yeah, and it's exciting to see storytellers like this emerge out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I think it's so important that they are making it their life's work to keep stories like this alive.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, this is Opal's Walk for Freedom Live, brought to you by Unity Unlimited, Inc., and presented by Heal America. I'm Laura Harris. This is my friend Deborah Ferguson from NBC5 Today here in Dallas-Fort Worth. And we are watching the 95 years young civil rights advocate, Dr. Opal Lee, walking with thousands, 2.5 miles to represent the 2.5 years the enslaved men and women of Texas endured until word of the Emancipation Proclamation actually got to them some 2.5 years after they were supposed to be freed.
Yeah, that word came in Galveston, Texas, there on the coast south of Houston, and what a celebration there was. JCPenney and Noom recognized the importance of the Opal Walk for Freedom. They have signed on as our national sponsor of this event, as Dr. Lee and the Freedom Walkers continue to cruise to the south side of Fort Worth, making it towards the new City Hall in downtown.
Yeah, the south side is really close to the new Main Street that they just crossed over, Main Street Arts District, a brand new addition to the incredible city. Dr. Lee is walking strong despite the incredible heat.
Right.
Deborah, it's about 88 to 90 degrees out there, and probably even hotter since they're on the pavement. So our Brittany Johnson is down there in the mix of everything right now. Brittany, how is she holding up?
Yes, well, she's still here. She's still pushing her great-granddaughter here and got her support team around her. But I'm going to check in so you can hear from Dr. Opal Lee herself. Can you just share a little bit of an update? Everyone's been cheering you on. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling real good. I know they're concerned about this old lady, but we're going to make it every step of the way.
You heard it. We're going to make it every step of the way. She is still pushing here. She's got her Gatorade, got her water. When we talked earlier this week, she said people ought to let old people do as much as they can for as long as they can.
That's a fact, and they ought to listen to them, too.
All right, so let's all listen to Dr. Lee and continue to walk us beside her and cheer her on. I'll be back to check in on you.
We can't make this up. This is amazing. And she said they're worried about this old lady. They don't need to be. We're going to make it every step of the way.
Right.
And you know, we keep saying that thousands of people are walking with Dr. Opal Lee. You might look at this and you say, well, only it's like hundreds. Here's the thing. This has now become a national movement.
Right.
There are people in cities across this country right now who are walking alongside Dr. Opal Lee, whether it be virtually or in that same space. You know, it's challenging to make sure people are treated fairly. But that is exactly what Dr. Lee has worked her whole life to make sure is happening. And African Americans have been fighting for that treatment for much of American history. And in the mid-century, many families found a path toward that humanity in a good job as Pullman porters. Here's a look at those men.
The train was a sign of progress, of change, as much as the internet of today or the AI of tomorrow. George Pullman saw the opportunity for a sleeping car on those trains so folks could travel in comfort, and with that, altered the way folks traveled across the country. Pullman porters were exclusively African-American men who took your ticket, turned down your bed, and attended to an assortment of needs of their passengers.
You had this attendant who would, from the very moment you arrived to the train station, pick up your bags, ask you what time you wanted your coffee delivered in the morning, would deliver your paper ironed, right? Your newspaper would be ironed.
They were smartly dressed and groomed, with the most patient of attitudes and of versatile knowledge.
And railroad men were the backbones of our community. They had jobs that paid much better than the jobs that people had here in town, even at the packing houses.
The Pullman porters did indeed open up this door to what we now call the middle class. I mean, think about it. We're talking about this thing called enslavement was a financial economic hindrance, right? I mean, if it's against the law for me to learn how to read and write, I'm going to be at a disadvantage in terms of the marketplace.
They rode the rails working long hours but making a working wage. They could invest in their families and communities. Their arduous work allowed them to propel African-American families into the middle class and further from the stereotypes of previous years.
Miss Opal, the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, these are just a few of the examples of people who showed us the possibility of humanity.
Definitely what we see there just underscores that access to good jobs just reshapes opportunities for everyone. When you have a good job, you have financial stability, and that just opens the door to so much more.
And it continues to open those doors.
Yeah.
And we have to work to continue to do that for everyone, because equal access, it's really important. It can change your life.
Right. And Dr. Lee has been working not only with state representatives, but also presidents, companies, as well as our national sponsor, JCPenney, to try to make things happen. We want to go back now to Brittany along the walk, and she's with Brandy Ellis of JCPenney. Brittany, we're excited to hear from Brandy right now.
Yes. Hey there, yes, Brandy, right here from JCPenney, as you can see. You all talk a lot, you share a lot about your commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. When you look at what's happening here today and all of these people, why is that so important to JCPenney?
It's important to JCPenney because we celebrate our diverse working families every day, and it's a part of our culture. We were founded on the Golden Rule, so treat everyone like you want to be treated. So that's ingrained in our JCPenney culture, and so it's super important for us to be here and represent the community and to give back to our community. And we are a big sponsor for Miss Opal Lee, Dr. Opal Lee, so we're super happy to be here and to be celebrating Juneteenth with her.
You mentioned the Golden Rule. I know, but that was a big one for my mom and probably for so many folks at home. You mentioned also the sponsorship. Why this event? Like, what does this mean to you all? And for you to be here walking alongside Miss Opal today?
Well, I was raised in Fort Worth. I am here, and I'm an alumni of Crowley High School. So this is super important to me because it's like Dr. Opal Lee is a hometown hero for us. So it's a full circle moment for me to be here and to be celebrating with her. As far as JCPenney, I am a design director there, and we created a line of Juneteenth tees with our brand Hope and Wonder. And our brand Hope and Wonder, all the net proceeds go back to a charitable organization, and this is the organization that our Juneteenth collection goes back to. So we love celebrating. We created our collection around unity and family and just the overall freedom. So we love that, and we're super happy to be here and super happy to represent our culture, our customer, our diverse working families. So we're happy to celebrate.
Well, we're happy to have you. We appreciate your time here today, and I know the folks at home who are from Fort Worth are happy to see a hometown girl here representing as well. Yes. Well, Brandy Wallace from JCPenney, thank you so much. And speaking of unity, I mean, you all heard that, the chanting that was going on, that energy, it's so alive, and it's part of what is helping push us toward. We're going to make it to that 2.5 mile mark. For now, though, I want to send it back to you, Deborah and Laura.
All right, Brittany, thank you. And we are joined now by Michelle Waslow. She's Executive Vice President and Chief Merchant at JCPenney. Thank you so much for being here, Michelle.
Thank you for having me.
So the first question I have for you is just why is this so important for JCPenney, such a global brand, to be involved with Opal's Walk?
Yeah. Wow, you know, it actually, I think, you know, Brandy said earlier, we are here to serve and celebrate our diverse working American families. And if you actually look at the fabric of this wonderful country, it is around the diversity of this country. And so really important for us to be involved with things that celebrate, but also bring in recognition that we've worked to do as we move forward.
I love that. And when you talk about the recognition, one of the things that Deborah and I always talk about is making sure that you include all people, but especially women these days. And the fact that a Black woman is doing this is just incredible. It's incredible. Michelle, why does it seem to you, though, that there's still so much work to be done? I know that JCPenney is doing their part to include all, but it's still so much work to be done.
There is so much work, yeah. You know, I think what is interesting, even this holiday and the walk that's going on, I mean, we had to make a decision. We actually, not only do we serve and celebrate these communities, our employees and our teams reflect the communities that we serve. And so, you know, when we were talking about what we can do, that's why Hope and Wonder is really important, because, listen, you should not be putting out stuff to capitalize on these things. And so when we developed Hope and Wonder, from the moment the team thought about it, and the team thought about it, our internal team said, we need to do something that's going to give back to the communities that we serve. And so that what we're not doing is saying, great, it's a holiday. It is no. What can we do to move us forward and to, again, have the proceeds from this collection go back to give to, you know, Opal's Walk for this through Unity Unlimited. But that was really, really important because there is work to do, and you can't just take it as it's a day off. It's not. It's not.
Yeah, it's a movement. It's a cause.
It's a movement.
And I can't help but note too, Michelle. So Opal's hometown is Fort Worth. Headquarters for JCPenney is in Plano. Probably about 90 minutes, about an hour and a half between the two. So having this woman in your own backyard, so to speak, has got to make it even more special.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we had the pleasure in May, on May 17th, we actually had her, and we did a Walking for Freedom, a live talk with Dr. Opal Lee. And it was amazing. It was amazing, again, for our associates, but also it was a live stream, just to have people get educated more about incredible things that she's doing and is still doing.
Yeah, you know, educating people. I did yesterday doing some research. I put in Opal Lee, did the Google search for Opal Lee.
I'm sure you got a lot.
Oh my gosh, like 78 seconds, 45 million entries. You know, so the education goes on, and JCPenney helping do that too.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us, Michelle. Appreciate you.
Thank
All right,
you.
now from Michelle, let's go down to Brittany right now. And I mean, my goodness. Oh, we're actually going to start talking about, you know, so one of the things that Dr. Opal Lee is known for now, Deborah, is the farm. Because one of the things that she worked towards so much is making sure that people who lived in food deserts had food.
Yes, her grandparents, her parents, when they were growing up, when people would come for help, she would see her grandparents and her parents helping others. And as she moved into Fort Worth, people would come to say, hey, I need food. She couldn't just hear that and not do anything. So she started a community food bank, and then she thought, you know what? Let's help people grow their own food.
Let's teach a man how to fish.
Exactly. So in 1992, Opal's Farm was created to grow organic produce, and it was the land that she uses for the farm was given to her by the Tarrant Regional Water District, another partner in Opal's continued effort to make a difference. So you're thinking, what is Opal's Farm? We're here. We're going to show you right now.
It's almost hard to follow up and to live in the legacy of Miss Opal. When she shared her vision with me and we first met, everything came together. We can make our community self-sufficient. We can empower our community to do a better job of feeding themselves and living healthy lives. Opal's Farm is an urban farm, a 5-acre urban farm. We presently have 2 acres under development. And of that, we try to grow produce to take to areas in Tarrant County that are marked by food apartheid, what the FDA calls food deserts. Even if it's only to help one neighborhood, that's one neighborhood that's healthier. There is something special that takes place when we're engaged with the land. And the hard work is one of the things that you feel like you're making a difference. And I think all of it ties into the overreaching mission of Juneteenth, because it goes back to that freedom to grow. And so we've gotten a lot of volunteers. Last year, we did about 2,200 volunteer hours. And I had a young man, about 12 or 13 years old, point to a tomato plant, and he says, "What's that?" And I mean, it kind of took me by surprise, right? Because I figured everybody knows what a tomato is, right? And I told him it's a tomato, and he looked at me, and as dead serious as he could be, he said, "I thought they came out of cans." When you begin to get the "I can do this" feeling, it's amazing what other things you find out you can do.
That's some pretty good-looking farmland there, Laura.
I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, it's not lost on me once again that she's in her 90s and still making all this happen. Dr. Lee worked with the Tarrant County Regional Water District to utilize unused land for that incredible endeavor to, again, teach people how to feed themselves. Because once you've taught them how to feed themselves, you can't take it away from them. In a community that's essentially a food desert. And a food desert is a place where people cannot just walk to get fresh produce. They would have to get in some sort of car, public transit, whatever it might be, to actually have fresh food for their families.
Yeah, she achieved that at the age of 92. Just a reminder, never too old, never too young to make something happen. And you can do it. She likes to encourage people to be a committee of one. You can be the one to make the change. And she did it working with city partners, local partners, just another example of her determination to make things happen. Brittany is back down on the Opal's Walk for Freedom with another longtime supporter of Dr. Opal Lee. Brittany, introduce us to who's beside you there today.
Look at how the people are down here.
Yes, a longtime supporter here, Nicole Collier, and behind us, of course, this huge crowd of folks continuing to march right alongside Miss Opal Lee. We were just talking about how long you've been alongside her, state representative here, and you mentioned that you remember when there weren't this many folks.
I do.
Talk to me about that, the walks that you've been on and how you've seen this grow.
I have. In fact, Dr. Lee has been an important leader in our community. She has been a visionary. And so when we first started, when I remember joining on with her, forces with her, there weren't that many people here. She would do a breakfast, she would do a Miss Juneteenth, she did a lot of things in a program, and not too many people showed up. So what she did is she took us out and she said, we're going to the people. She did not let this set her back. She said, I am not going to give up. I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to find the people, and they're going to learn about Juneteenth.
Oh boy, did she find the people.
Yes, she did.
She's got the people here today, along with you, who you said maybe more than 2 decades that you've worked with her. She has a vision for the community, and I know that sort of aligns with yours. Can you talk to me about what you all are hoping to see, your shared vision for the work that can be done, the unity that we can see?
Yes, absolutely. So she has been an example of persistence in the face of adversity. So she will not give up. And so what she has taught me and other people in the community is that we've got to give back. So Dr. Lee helps not just rich people or poor people. She helps not just white people or black people. She helps all people. And so my work as the chair of the House Criminal Jurisprudence Committee in Texas is making sure that we help all Texans. And I've learned that right here at home with Dr. Lee.
It's a good example because I know when I was with her the other day, she mentioned, oh my goodness, I got to make a phone call because I deliver food to the sick and shut-in. 95-year-old Opal Lee, in the week leading up to this march, was going to pick up 12 boxes of food to take to people who can't leave their homes and their beds. Like you said, she's just an incredible example.
Absolutely. She does not give up. In fact, she's been doing that way before the cameras were here. She's always been giving back to the community, a shining example of what we all need to emulate and try to be and give back into our community.
Representative Collier, thank you for your time here today. And ladies, you can see here, she's got the people now. She has all the people here with us marching today, and that show of unity has certainly come to fruition and manifested in what you see here.
Oh, Brittany, we just love to see it. They're switching out
the babies
children right now. They're switching out the babies, and I love to see it. And it's just amazing to watch all of this unfold. Deborah, what I can't stop looking at is the smile on Dr. Opal Lee's face.
Yeah.
I mean, they have probably been walking for about a mile now. She's still smiling despite the elements. And for today's events being led by this giant, Dr. Opal Lee, who continues the extraordinary excellence of a long list of exceptional African-American leaders right there in Fort Worth.
Yeah, a lot of incredible people, a lot of trailblazers in Fort Worth like Dr. Lee. Stem back to a historic school in Fort Worth. It was integral in the Black community before and after desegregation. It helped create a generation of visionaries. I want you to take a look at I Am Terrell and some of its alumni.
I Am Terrell, the school that I went to, which was the original black high school in Fort Worth, and not only served Fort Worth, but served at least 18 other cities.
To talk about I Am Terrell High School is to talk about the history of Black Fort Worth.
Terrell has a lot of history because it was the only school that people of color could go to back in the day. And people from several counties, as you know, came from around from Weatherford, a little place out here called Birdville, Mansfield, all came to I Am Terrell. It was a conglomerate of a lot of talent.
The teachers that we had in high school, most of those people had PhDs.
There were many, many distinguished graduates of I Am Terrell. Doctors, lawyers, musicians, diplomats. I Am Terrell produced Ornette Coleman and Dewey Redmond and King Curtis Owsley, and the list just goes on and on and on.
You can imagine that the buzz and the hum in that school and the energy that you felt, it was just there all around you, you know, the teachers, everything was moving towards that mountaintop that Martin Luther King was talking about. It was lots of energy, lots of energy.
Love it when we opened up the history books and learned about parts of Fort Worth. I Am Terrell opened in 1882. And I think it's fascinating that here we are now in 2022. years later, and now it is a high school for visual and performing arts, kind of going back to its roots, as we heard some of the speakers there say about remembering all the great musicians. You may have heard the names Ornette Coleman and Dewey Redmond. They played together there in the marching band during their years at I Am Terrible, and then Terrell, excuse me. They made history with their free jazz. So exciting to see that the creativity, the musical creativity that was there then, is being repeated now in this school for visual and performing arts.
But that lends itself to why it's so important to explore our history and understand it, not just on a national or international level, but right in our own communities, because there's so much happening in the background that you probably didn't even know about it. And each of our communities is a reflection of who we are together. That was one of the 12 freedoms gained: freedom to know and preserve your history.
I know sometimes I have trouble, Laura, especially with the pandemic. It's like, wait a minute, I can't even remember what day it was.
Yeah, you and me both. I would agree with you, yeah.
You heard in the story there, somebody mentioned the name Devoid D. Jennings. He is somebody else who has just a great history in Fort Worth. He was president, CEO with the Fort Worth Metropolitan Black Chamber of Commerce. He was a board member of Texas Wesleyan University, the university that gave Dr. Lee one of her honorary doctorates, and then a very proud graduate of I Am Terrell High School. Just a tremendous impact on this community.
And then later he would successfully steer the refurbishing of his elementary school, G.W. Carver, and it now houses the Fort Worth Housing Authority, which then led to the reopening of his beloved I Am Terrell High School as an elementary school. And as Deborah was just talking about, the STEM Academy and so many other things that it's providing for its community.
It is, and it's a place too, I Am Terrell, where even you see professional groups using as space to perform. The Fort Worth Opera used I Am Terrell for one of its performances in the last season. Just incredible how this high school continues to make a difference in the community. You know, we started the walk in that part of town in Southeast Fort Worth there at Evans Plaza, and all along there you can see little points where Devoid Jennings, D. Jennings, really made an impact.
Yeah, and speaking of an impact, just looking back and seeing what Dr. Opal Lee is doing right now on that route, and she's kind of stopped just a little bit, but what they keep doing is they're making sure that she's taking a little break, she's got a fan there, they've got cooling towels for her. We just don't want to forget that this is the reason why we are here today. This incredible woman who has done so much. And the reason why, a big reason why we have a federal holiday now called Juneteenth, is because of Dr. Opal Lee. You know, another icon whose good works are abundant, the 13-time Grammy-winning producer and musician, Pharrell Williams. You might be saying, what does that have to do?
I'm so happy.
I'm so happy, but what does that have to do with what we're talking about right now? Well, he has used his considerable platform as a world-famous entertainer to join the fight for Juneteenth. He actually sat down with Dr. Opal Lee last year for Variety magazine during their Changemaker Summit to talk about the journey to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. And he sent along a special shout-out for Dr. Lee for Juneteenth.
I want to give a very special shout out and acknowledgement to all of our grandmother, Miss Opal Lee, and all of the amazing life-changing work that she's doing by, highlighting the symbolism and the importance of Juneteenth, not only for African Americans and African diaspora people worldwide, but also just, for human beings. Human beings need to know what it is that our DNA, our ancestors went through in order to come to not only this nation, but where it happens worldwide. And the idea that we have someone from her time still talking about these things, doing 2+ mile walks with, a motorcade of 300 cars following her, just lets you know that this woman needs to be celebrated. She needs to be acknowledged. And I personally, am super inspired. And I gotta tell you, if it weren't for your work, I may not have known the importance. So I have to say, thank you so much for everything that you continue to do and being the person that you are. Continued blessings and favor, Miss Opal Lee.
Pharrell Williams, wanting to, give a little shout out to Dr. Opal Lee.
Can I drop a few more names?
Please
Laura?
do.
Let me drop
I
a few
am
more
amazed
names.
by this woman.
Yeah. So you got him, and then you also have joining her effort. You got Usher, you got Diddy, You got Lupita Nyong'o, who you have interviewed, I believe, Laura.
Yeah.
So really, everybody understanding who she is, what she is, why she's doing it, and say, hey, I want to join her party.
And a visionary. She's just a visionary, always speaking about change.
Right.
And again, just understanding that she calls herself this little old lady in tennis shoes is the woman who is doing all of this right now. She is the reason why we are here right now talking about Juneteenth.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you think too about, when you think about too, Pharrell Williams, and you think about, Usher, and you think about Diddy, all these creative talents, it's just striking, Laura, and heartbreaking too, they now have the freedom to create when it wasn't there before.
It's pretty incredible to know all of that. We'll be right back.
The paper said on the 19th of June, 500 people gathered. Paper says the police couldn't control the mob.
Wait, hold on. So the 500 people that gathered, this wasn't a Juneteenth celebration?
Not by a long shot.
Was what happened on June 19, 1865 in Texas really the end of slavery in America?
Slavery, at its essence, is control. And so what happens in the South is a struggle to control.
The mentality of the state seemed to have been, we're not going to let them go.
You can miss the humanity when you emphasize 10 million slaves, right? We want to talk about someone's son, someone's daughter.
And on June 19th, 1865, somebody got freedom. Somebody's child got freedom. Somebody's mama got freedom. Somebody's grandmama got freedom. And when that happened, that's like an Exodus experience all over again.
You can just imagine. You find out you're free, there's a party on every corner, of course. But then there was the reality. What next?
What does Juneteenth reveal about the nature of the struggle for freedom? How did a Bible that was used to justify slavery become an inspiration for liberation?
I say, hey, we should care about the poor. Yes, amen. Hey, we should care about the marginalized. Yes, amen. Hey, we should care about injustice for black people. Whoa, whoa, brother. You're going too far. And it crushed me.
This is not just a story for Texans or for those like me seeking to connect with their roots. Juneteenth is the story of faith's power to overcome suffering, good to overcome evil, and how a people's fight for freedom was delayed but could not be denied.
Here I come.
Don't sound like you're slowing down any at all.
There's work to do.
Yeah, and welcome back. You heard Opal Lee say there is work to do, and she believes it can happen one by one individuals, and she really wants to preach that message of love.
I just love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that.
So you see Opal Lee, she's the front and center of this movement, but walking along beside her, not just here today, but every step of this way, is her granddaughter, Dion Sims. I love what Dion calls her grandmother. She calls her granddear, which is, I think, so endearing. And we want to go now to our Brittany Johnson, who is there with Dion, to talk more about Dr. Lee's message. Brittany.
Hey there. Yes, you know, this is Ms. Sims, her granddaughter here. She's got one eye on the camera and another eye, right? The other one on Ms. Opal Lee there. How are you feeling today? And particularly when you look out at the crowd, what do you see in terms of her ability to pull people together, to connect to the right people for this message?
You know, as we were walking, she says, Dion, how many people are out here? And I said, there's thousands. I said, really, literally. And she said, okay. Because her whole message, as is the message of Unity Unlimited, is about bringing people together. And it's our goal for Juneteenth to be that unifier. You've heard her say it over and over again, that Juneteenth is a unifier. And when you can get everybody together, then they can start having conversations. And so there are opportunities in the city of Fort Worth, across the nation, all right, for people to come together and talk about what Juneteenth is really about. And that's freedom, but freedom for everybody. See, that's the message, and that's her message.
We talked a little bit before about her being somewhat of a matchmaker. She does like to put people together. How does she do it? What is it about her? You know, what are her strengths that you feel like really help pull all this together?
She's a people person. Has always been a people person. As she says, it's in our DNA, you know, coming from her grandparents and stuff. But the thing is that she likes to see people happy. She likes to see people live their life with dignity. And so when we do that, and if somebody doesn't happen to be married, she said, are you married? But then she starts looking for people's soulmates as if she can choose them, right? But the thing is, it's just about people. She's a people person.
Well, we appreciate that. And there might be some people on this live stream who might want to dial into Dr. Opal Lee's matchmaking service. We might have to give you one more thing to do with Healing Unlimited, with Heal Unlimited.
With Unity Unlimited, as we heal America, yes. Right? As we heal America, we'll make sure we start with matchmaking. Okay, y'all gonna add another thing to me. All right.
But we'll focus mostly on the connection. Dion, thank you for your time, for all that you have done, because we know you do so much of the work behind Unity Unlimited and getting the message out. So thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. Thank you so much.
All right, Laura, Deborah, we'll send it back to you all.
Very interesting that one of Miss Opal Lee's talents is matchmaking. I'm glad you finally found your man in Dallas. Otherwise, you might have to.
And that's the thing, Deborah, as you always tell me, we weren't born in Texas, but we got here as fast as we could. Yeah. There are so many people who are not even from this area who now know who Dr. Opal Lee is and are thankful and a better person because they met her.
Exactly. Those stories are just abundant out there, and so many people trying to push the message forward. And what she has done, Laura, is really try to create a lot of opportunity. And people see her as their example, their role model. I mean, look, I'm sitting home and I think, wait a minute, I don't want to get out and walk. It's too hot. You got 95-year-old Opal Lee
now you have no excuse,
out there. Exactly.
We have no excuse.
And her ability, Laura, to be that kind of change agent inspires so many others. And we're seeing that in the Poly area of Fort Worth. That's where Texas Western University is. It's one of the universities that gave Opal Lee a doctorate. So that's why we call her Dr. Opal Lee. And there's a woman there who just decided, you know what, I'm going to start a business there. I'm going to bring something new to that part of Fort Worth. It's a woman named Mia Moss, who she opened up a coffee shop called Black Coffee. You're thinking, oh, I want to know more about this. Here it is.
Our business is built on generations of hard work. I opened up a coffee shop on the east side of Fort Worth because it's a food desert. It's kind of been forgotten, and I wanted my community to have something special, something they could call their own. When I think about past generations, I'm from Fort Worth. My mom was born and raised on the south side of Fort Worth, and it's mind-blowing when you think about how long it took slaves to even find out that they were free in Texas. It's baffling, especially because, I'm a millennial, so we kind of grew up into the computer age, and we're like, it takes that long? It brings a lot of emotion, but the biggest emotion that I have is just being grateful. I'm so grateful up to here when I think about Juneteenth. It can be a sad time because it brings up so many painful memories, painful stories, but I try to look at the bright side and look at like, wow, we're still here. We're doing great things, and we have to continue to bring that history to the younger generation so they don't forget where they came from. The name Black Coffee, it means so many things. First, that's where coffee started. Coffee started in Africa, in Ethiopia, and that's an homage, paying homage to them, and to let people know, like, this is the start of coffee. Yes, it was taken, and it became something for intellectuals to drink, but it had always been a part of the history of Black people. It was sort of kind of reclaiming something that we already had. And yeah, that's where I got Black Coffee from. I think owning a business right now is really showing the next generation the kind of freedom they can have in owning their own business and, you know, making their own schedule and providing a service and showcasing their talents. My purpose is to show them that it is possible. Something as small as making a cup of coffee, you know, can be impactful.
Providing fuel for so many. You know, Mia embodies yet another thing that we've been talking about, and that's the freedom to own. The freedom to just own something.
Yeah.
That wasn't always the case for Black people in this country.
Right, and look at Mia too. She is Black, but a woman, a young Black woman. You know, sometimes, Laura, I think we overlook, you know, the women, the Black women in our country. And here she's, you know what, I'm going to start my own business. And people are taking notice. I've been there. She does make a good cup of coffee. but even more importantly, remember February 2021, we're super hot now right here in July in Texas. Think back to February 2021. We had this terrible winter storm.
The frozen tundra, you mean?
Yes, the frozen tundra. So Mia has her coffee shop open, and guess who shows up? I won't let you get, I'll just tell you. The great gospel singer from Fort Worth, Kirk Franklin. Yeah, he shows up and does a couple of videos there in the coffee shop. It's super cool. You might want to look it up.
Well, with that, Mia definitely solidifying her part in history, and so is Dr. Opal Lee, as we are watching her walk down the streets of Fort Worth right now. And speaking of history, yet another example of that history here.
In the sweltering summer of 2020, just a few months into a worldwide pandemic, with a tumultuous year already afoot in America, Miss Opal Lee, a 94-year-old activist, set out on foot in the Texas heat to inspire her community to make Juneteenth a national holiday. Millions of people discovered her online, whether by fate, coincidence, or divine intervention. Miss Opal Lee managed to tap into the introspection of the times. These uncertain days that thrusted us, not only the American public, but the entire world, into a sense of self-reflection. And there, we discovered our best selves in this image of a 94-year-old woman who had been fighting for over 4 decades to unify her community, literally one step at a time. Her call to action, more than a holiday, but a need to recognize and celebrate the day when the American dream first came true and all its people were legally free. That date was June 19, 1865, when Major General Gordon Granger shared the news with the last slaves in America that they were free. A man stepping off a ship in Galveston, walking a nation into the future. Miss Opal's unflinching need to spread this 156-year-old message of hope was the spark that ignited a fire last year and led to 1.5 million signatures on a Change.org petition requesting to make Juneteenth a national holiday.
All of it in celebration of Juneteenth for the first time as the 12th federal holiday.
Juneteenth, a federal holiday, a celebration to unify all Americans. Let's see ourselves for who we truly are, one community. We don't know when the final steps toward this great American dream are achieved, but we do know it's one step at a time.
If you are just joining us, welcome to Opal's Walk for Freedom Live 2022, brought to you by Unity Unlimited, Inc. and presented by Heal America.
Opal's Walk for Freedom is a celebration of freedom and the sacrifices made to achieve it for all people. Opal Lee will say no one is free until we are all free, and she believes that Juneteenth is the great unifier. And united in this effort to bring this presentation to you is our national sponsors, JCPenney and Nome, and a lot of incredible folks supporting Dr. Lee's continued good work through United Unlimited Incorporated. And Brittany Johnson is there along the walk, and she is with one of those folks right now. Brittany?
Hey there, yes, we are continuing. We're moving right along here, and I'm with Vince Ferrara here. Yes. He is with Frank Kent Arlington. They are one of the sponsors here, and you were just beginning to tell me a little bit of the background about why you all are here and are participating in this. Talk to me about the importance of this sponsorship and this relationship.
So we got a phone call from Miss Opal's group, and they were asking for someone who would maybe be interested in donating a car. So she called the car dealership, which was smart.
Smart lady.
And we immediately jumped on it. We thought it was it's a great, wonderful cause, and we want to help drive awareness to the July 2nd Empower You event. And that's where you can win the car. You go to that event, you register, and then you have an opportunity to win the XT4.
Okay, and I was just going to ask you, what do people have to do? Talk to me about the car and what you hope people see when they look at it, because you were saying that's kind of the significance of all of this.
Well, you know, it's a status symbol. It's a Cadillac. And whoever's lucky enough to win that car, it's going to empower them. They're going to have a brand new Cadillac to drive to school or work or wherever they're going, right? So that's what we hope to do with it. It's a symbol.
And how can people find out more information? Where do they need to go online? What do they need to do to potentially get in line to get this Cadillac?
So if you go to empoweryou.com, I believe is the website, and anything close to that will get you in that direction, and then you can register for it.
All right. Anything else you'd like to share about all of this?
We're excited. You know, it's wonderful. Opal's 95 years old. I got to spend an hour with her yesterday, and she's so inspiring. And, somebody said, hey, you can jump in the XT4 later because it's in the parade. And I said, no. If Opal's doing this walk, I'm doing this walk. So she's got no quit in her.
Well, Vince Ferrara from Frank Kent Arlington, thank you for your time. And I think he hit on something really, really special there, which is as long as she's out here, we're out here, right? I mean, if she can walk these 2.5 miles and if she can sweat, we can certainly be out here along with her. So we appreciate your time here today. Laura, Deborah, I'll send it back to you all in the AC.
All right, Brittany, thank you. And we appreciate you being out there and getting these important interviews. You know, Dr. Opal Lee said that Juneteenth is the great unifier. We're seeing that with all of these people walking with her right now. And I love that conviction and the understanding of this change that she has brought about. Something else that she's been working on for decades is to help find shoes. Yes, shoes for young students so they can focus on schoolwork or building for the food bank after it burned down in a fire. And that work continues. She's just never let the impossible scare her away from the work that needs to be done.
No, she is right in there, Laura. She has, I love reading about Opal and her quote. She has said through the years, she's always encouraging people to help somebody else, to don't let obstacles get in the way, and to be a committee of one, to make change and to keep doing it even when there's the risk of failure. She has accomplished so much. We all have, but yet there's still so much more that we can all realize.
Right, and Dr. Lee had some support over the years, because that's another thing that she will say. She will say, I didn't do this alone.
Right.
I had people who helped me, even though it was her idea to begin with. Let's just be clear. But had that help for years out there working toward the American dream. And one of those supporters is Commissioner Roy Brooks, who has a message for us today. Here it is.
Unity. Unification. That's the American dream. Not a chicken in every pot and a car in every garage. The American dream to me is that America should live up to the promises that she has made over her history. Slavery existed in Texas for an extra 2 years. Time has value. Time has purpose. It has meaning. Because the word was slow in reaching
the shores of Texas. That's kind of mind-boggling. So Black folk in Texas have always celebrated Juneteenth as our Emancipation Day. For us, Black folk in Texas, it's intensely personal. It's intensely meaningful because of that 2 years.
This is the freedom now, and everybody has a right to the tree of life. But back in my times, I was a slave, and you couldn't go nowhere without permission, and so we had to live on the plantation and do the best we could do. And the morning that the old master come out and told us that we was free, nobody didn't know what he's talking about.
We've got to pass on to future generations, to the ones coming behind us, our faith in the American dream, that it is achievable and that it includes us, because we believe the words that were written, regardless of what was in the hearts of those who wrote them.
And you watch and hear stories like that, and you know that it's true. We have come so far, but we still have so much work to do. That's one of the things that Dr. Opal Lee always tells people, and as you can tell, she's still making that same difference, doing more work, Brittany, as she's walking these 2.5 miles to get to where she wants to go today.
Hey there, she is walking and she's taken, you can see her right now, they're getting her readjusted again with her fan. We're kind of going down a little bit of a hill here, but she keeps moving and she keeps smiling. And you can hear the people now cheering under this overpass. There are people who are cheering, "Let's go Opal." So much energy here. And I think there's a little bit of a breeze under here as well. I'm joined here by Stacy Brown. She's a member of Zeta Phi Beta, along with Dr. Opal Lee. Can you talk to us, if they can hear us, a little bit about the sorority, the work that you all do, and what it means to have this true connection with Dr. Opal Lee?
Absolutely. So Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated was founded in 1920 by 5 illustrious women known as our 5 Pearls. And we were founded on the principles of finer womanhood, scholarship, service, and sisterly love. So to have such a great example of finer womanhood in our sorority, and specifically in the Fort Worth chapter, is just phenomenal.
Stacy, your feeling being out here today, sweating along with everyone, what's the main sort of thought that you have and that you think you'll take away from being a part of this today, along with a now 95-year-old Dr. Opal Lee?
I think today is a beautiful show of solidarity, that no matter what the circumstances is, whether we're braving the 100-degree heat to march with this beautiful woman, anything and everything is possible. She is an example of how no matter what, you keep on walking, you keep on marching. She's over 40 years of hard work to get this holiday to be a national recognized holiday. And look, here we are today.
Here we are today, Stacy Brown from Zeta Phi Beta. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. And as Stacy just mentioned, Miss Opal Lee, Dr. Opal Lee keeps pushing. She is now once again pushing her great-granddaughter through this as part of her stability to move through, as she takes one more step in this heat to reach that 2.5-mile mark. Laura, Deborah.
Truly incredible to watch. Brittany, thank you. And you were just hearing from a member of Zeta Phi Beta there, the Divine Nine, which is a collective of all of these different Black sororities and fraternities. They have worked as well to continue on with this legacy that Opal Lee has put forward there, saying, okay, we need to do our best and we need to do some work as well when it comes to Juneteenth. As hot as it is outside, oftentimes it's hot in the kitchen. And Deborah, I gotta defer to you because Dr. Opal Lee was at an event this week and Deborah Ferguson was there too. I need to know more about what you've got here.
Yeah, right. Taking a live look at this camera, there are so many people there around Dr. Lee. I think the crowd fuels her. She's been drinking some water, but I wonder, Laura, if she would rather have a glass of some Southern Strawberry Sweet Iced Tea.
Who doesn't want Southern Strawberry Sweet Iced Tea?
Yeah, I was at an event, a Juneteenth celebration with Dr. Lee. She read her book to the kids who were there. And all of us who were there, Laura, we got this little pamphlet, this little packet of all kinds of great recipes that you don't have a celebration in the South without things like pork ribs. Southern collard greens. You got to have the Southern candied sweet potatoes, some baked beans, the grandmother's buttermilk cornbread,
it's the cornbread
Southern
tea
cakes, egg custard pie, and I think yeah, Southern Strawberry Sweet Iced Tea. I'm so glad I was there so that I could pick that up, and maybe I'll try to work on that when I get home this weekend and bring us some of that. Yeah.
Well, as you can tell, she's a woman with passion in so many different things. She's also fought through many personal battles of her own, from raising 4 children as a single mother while going to school, working multiple jobs, to fighting breast cancer.
Yeah, and that's something I think, Laura, a lot of people were surprised to learn, because you see this woman out here, you know, walking through the heat saying, I'm going to make it every step of the way. And then we find out just this year that she is a breast cancer survivor as well. And she's, while she is so public in many ways, she's yet still so private too, and just recently shared that.
Yeah, and then once again, giving the credit to her community for helping her battle cancer.
Yeah.
You know, she's a strong woman, but then saying, you know, it's my doctors, it's the incredible nurses, it's the people in my community of Fort Worth who helped me beat cancer.
Yeah.
She's really always trusted that she could contribute to her community and that this community would then support her in return.
Yeah, just, you know, you look back at her life, you know, 9 decades of living, facing all kinds of things that you and I would never dream of, Laura, and never want to experience, yet she has overcome these obstacles, these very difficult times, and anybody who hears her story is just truly inspired by her.
Right, you were watching that crowd right now, making another uphill battle, literally this time, going up the hill there. 2.5 miles that they're going to try to make it, and she has told us this little old lady's going to make it. In the very beginning, if you're just joining us, in the very beginning of the walk, she said, we're going to get this thing started? I don't blame her.
Yeah, I'm in the pink. I'm feeling great.
Well, she works with a team to develop the National Juneteenth Museum. That's what they're working on right now. No, she still hasn't stopped.
Right.
Every day she's working towards something new. So here's a peek at what they're working on.
We have a Juneteenth museum at the corner of Rosedale and Evans. Tell everybody it looks like the hind heels of hell, but it's got a lot of material that people ought to know about. So that little fella's gonna disappear, and we're gonna put a national Juneteenth museum there. Oh, you see, this used to be a vibrant community. There used to be cafes and service stations, a drugstore, all kinds of things right here from Terrell Avenue right down to Rosedale. But we are hoping that people will enjoy what's being planned.
The Juneteenth Museum is still concept in the making right now, and I'm so encouraged by the progress that they've made and the way the city of Fort Worth and Tarrant County, private community, philanthropy can all step up to make the dream realized.
Got big plans for that whole block. There's gonna be a theater. There's gonna be an incubator for small businesses. And there's going to be housing. So that museum committee has got its hands full, and they are going to open up 2024. I'm looking forward to it.
It will be something transformational, not just for Fort Worth, the entire United States. But if Fort Worth can be synonymous with that freedom and the story of Juneteenth, I think that's a history we want to be remembered for.
Love that comment by Mayor Maddie Parker that if Fort Worth can be associated with Juneteenth, that is something to be proud of. A U.S. News and Traveler has Fort Worth as one of the top destinations in which you want to come and visit and be part of for a Juneteenth celebration. And when that museum opens in 2024, beautiful space, just lots of natural tones, that open air design, just very welcoming. I think as Fort Worth likes to consider itself, it's a very welcoming community. You know, the Visit Fort Worth uses this tagline, Fort Worth, where all means y'all. Y'all means all.
I love that. And listen, they're on the clock now with Dr. Lee saying it's going to open in 2024.
Yes,
so
right.
They better get it done on time. And it's going to be yet another way for us to experience history.
Yeah, it's going to be easy to get to Southeast Fort Worth. They're right off of Interstate 35, just minutes from downtown Fort Worth, as well as the historic stockyards. Another museum to add to our collection in this city.
I was just going to say, just so many things that you can do in Fort Worth. It just seems like it's perfect that a Juneteenth museum would go in that city.
Yeah, I think it just would add to the collection that we already have in Fort Worth, a modern art museum, the Kimball Art Museum, the Amon Carter Museum, and this more voices, right? You need to hear the stories of all of us so that you truly can appreciate who we are, where we've come from, and where we're going.
Yeah, can't wait for that to open. Can't wait also to get back down to our Brittany Johnson from NBC5, who is down there along the walk route right now. We see Dr. Opal Lee moving around. Who do you have with you now, Brittany?
Yes. Hey there, yes, well, we're here right now with Jared Howard. He's from Sable Brands, and you all are the lead developer on the National Juneteenth Museum, which I know so many people are excited about. Of course, Dr. Opal Lee. Can you talk to us about your journey getting to this point and what it's been like working alongside Dr. Lee?
Yeah, so our partnership started several years ago in a fateful meeting, right? It wasn't supposed to happen the way it did. We were having lunch at her place, and she said, what are your visions for the city? We kind of talked about what my vision was, what hers were, and they married together, and she just so happened to own the piece of property in the historic South Side. So that was what catalyzed this journey that we're on right now.
And so you mentioned where it is, on South Side, Terrell Heights. What does it mean to have something like this of this magnitude in that community?
You know, when African Americans planted their flag in the city of Fort Worth in terms of culture, that's where it happened. And so if you rewind the clock 50, 75, 100 years, you see the richness of black culture there. And so to be able to plant this museum, this national treasure in that neighborhood is an incredible blessing that we could not have imagined we would have had the opportunity to do before. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, you do. Can we get a status update on the museum? I'll have some news here on the show.
We have new renderings that you probably have seen. I know NBC5 has been covering that. We are getting ready to start a capital campaign, the soft or the quiet phase of the capital campaign. And there are more things coming, so I'll encourage you to stay tuned so I don't get in trouble.
All right, Mr. Howard, thank you for your time. You heard him. Stay tuned, but the museum is coming, and the lady who's championed all of this keeps moving. Dr. Opal Lee continuing to press forward. Laura, Deborah. Oh, of course. Thank you for being here and being part of this.
Oh, gosh, we just love it. And it looks like the crowd continues to grow out there.
think
Just
so,
an extraordinary
yes.
effort, Deborah, that we are seeing out here right now. And one of the things that I have recognized about Dr. Opal Lee, aside of all of these incredible things that she has done, she has made sure that the next generation is taken care of as well.
Definitely. When she's in a crowd, Laura, when she's in any kind of public space, she makes it a point to address she calls them the young people. She makes it a point to address the young people who are there. She reminds them to be a committee of one, that as an individual, you can make a change. She believes the story about Juneteenth and the struggles of so many needs to be told. But sometimes hearing about the way others were treated, the way we treated each other, members of the human race, can be difficult to digest, especially for 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds. So she recently wrote a book, and it's geared towards kindergarten through 5th grade. It's a book called Juneteenth, A Children's Story.
Here's more on that.
I wrote a children's book to share the story of Juneteenth all over the world. That's the power of words. That's the power of reading. That's one of the freedoms gained by the enslaved. Teaching children to read and write is like giving water and sunlight to plants. And there's nothing wrong with that. Freedom is meant for everyone. So to have freedom for everyone is so important. When you go to do the good work that you are going to do, remember that good work takes time.
Don't you just love that, Laura? Remember that good work takes time. And she knows that because that's the life that she has lived. She has taken time to get to where we are today, celebrating Juneteenth. And when you hear more stories from her, you think, wow, you could easily be a series of books. Your life, Dr. Opal Lee.
Yeah, and I just love how she's making it a way to teach children about the future and about their past.
Yeah.
But what a wonderful narrator as well, and also the illustrations, the artist,
right.
Peter Viska. When you get a chance to look at this book, and I encourage you to do so, it really paints a beautiful picture, literally and figuratively, of what Dr. Opal Lee wanted kids to learn from the book. And as you said, Deborah, it's difficult sometimes to teach children that age what the federal holiday is all about, but she does a really good job of doing that for them.
Yeah, it's available on Amazon.com
if
you're interested in. Yeah, and speaking of doing an incredible job, we are back now with our live cameras watching 95-year-old Opal Lee continue her walk of freedom through Fort Worth. It started in southeast Fort Worth in an area called Evans Plaza. We've seen Dr. Lee take a few breaks. Temperature in Fort Worth, Texas is probably maybe above 90 degrees. No telling what it feels like with the humidity. We've seen her take a couple of breaks, get a cool towel over her neck. They have now crossed over a street called Lancaster in Fort Worth, Laura, and so she is now on the edge of downtown Fort Worth. Her destination is City Hall. Now, let me tell you, if her destination, we kind of have two city halls in Fort Worth. There's the older city hall, which she'd be fairly close to right about now. But recently, the city of Fort Worth purchased a new building. It's the former headquarters of Pier 1. And it's a little bit farther than the old city hall from where Miss Opal Lee is going now. So she has a little bit of a ways to go, but she is definitely taking those steps, getting there step by step, inch by inch, with that crowd supporting her. And you know, today just adds another bright chapter as we celebrate with so many across the country this holiday that Dr. Opal Lee fought so long for, more than 40 years that she has fought to have this holiday.
Absolutely. And taking another live look outside for us right now with Dr. Opal Lee. And we'll be back in just a moment.
All right, welcome back now to our live coverage of the 2022 Walk for Freedom as we take a high above look at Dr. Opal Lee as she continues to make her way along the streets of Fort Worth. Her ultimate destination is City Hall, walking 2.5 miles, and that that distance has significance because it was 2.5 years before those who were enslaved in Texas learned in 1865 that the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed and that they were free. Happened in Galveston. It was 2.5 years they waited for this word of freedom, and that is why we see Opal Lee walking 2.5 miles in celebration too of that national holiday that we celebrate and that we recognize. We like celebrating around here, Laura.
We absolutely do. And one of the things that we can celebrate with that freedom is the freedom of expression. And we've got DJ XO with us right now, originally from Houston, right?
Yes.
What is it about Juneteenth, and now that it's a federal holiday, but many people have celebrated Juneteenth for years. So what is it for you that makes you want to not only celebrate it, but make sure that others understand the importance of it?
I mean, it's just one of them things where, you know, it's super important. Like you know, it's our history, you know what I'm saying? It's where we come from, things we've overcome, you know what I'm saying? So it's one of them things where if you don't know about it, you definitely gotta do your research, you know, and learn about, you know, where you come from and how things happen.
When you hear the name XO, Opal Lee, 95, walking in this Texas heat.
Crazy.
Right?
Nah, it's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Seriously.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
No. I guess I'm curious. You know, she's from Fort Worth. A lot of folks in Fort Worth, of course, knew of Dr. Lee. The whole country learned about her when she made that walk to D.C. in 2016. When did you become aware of Opal Lee?
Actually, when I got a phone call about it, then I just did a little more research before we came out here. Because I didn't know a lot about it, but, you know, when they said her age, I was just like, she's really going to walk. I thought I was going to be out there, too. I had my basketball shoes and my shorts.
Look at us saving you.
I know. I love the AC. I'm good. I'll sit right here with y'all.
Yeah, it's awesome. But to Deborah's point, though, you know, doing that research and understanding what this is all about, I think for a person who's in the younger generation, that's what Opal Lee would want. She would want a person like you to do that research and make sure the next generation gets it, because you can reach a lot more people than sometimes an encyclopedia can, which I don't think people use encyclopedias anymore.
Absolutely.
Google. It's the Google.
It's the Google machine.
No, absolutely. You're right about that. Because, I mean, I've noticed that, you know, like just even now, a lot of rappers like myself, we get a chance to go back to the schools, you know, and talk to the kids. And I know when I was in school, if, you know, my favorite rapper came to school and told me something, I would definitely listen. You know, so it's good that like people like me getting a chance to, you know, help out in that area.
Well, we appreciate you being here, DJ XO. Thank you so much.
It's love,
from
it's
Houston,
love.
by the way, congratulations. Congratulations, because just like Dallas, you will be a host city for the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
I love Dallas. I love y'all. It's love.
We love that. We love that.
So a lot of people want to get to Fort Worth. Maybe it's to celebrate and meet Dr. Opal Lee. But one of the big areas, the big attractions in Fort Worth is the historic stockyards. It is known around the world. Cattle drives come through there today for the tourists to see, but also really there were cattle drives that help people move cattle from one place to the other. And a lot of people don't realize, Laura, just the diversity of the folks who were on that cattle drive trail.
Yeah, in many ways more diverse than many communities were in the mid-20th century. So let's take a look at that history.
When you think of Texas, you think of Fort Worth. And when you think of Fort Worth, you think of the cattle drives. You think of the Western heritage, the Western way of life. That's our brand. In the Western culture, when we're talking about cowboys, we're talking about life on the range, it didn't matter what your color was. If you could handle a horse, if you were good with cattle, if you could handle a rope, right? If you worked hard, you were considered an equal. Unfortunately, society, 140 years later, hasn't quite caught up to the dream of what they did back then. In the cowboy world, it spills over into mainstream society, and we'd like to see more of that. When black people come to the stockyard, they see me, it's almost like, wow, a black cowboy, you know? And I love that, because I love representing the African-American culture and its contribution to the West.
Hey there, I'm here with Don Lee, or D. Lee, or Don. He tells me he was born into the cowboy life. So I'm going to actually give him the mic so that he can be up here with the horse and let him do his thing. But he's going to explain about the culture, why they're so significant, and just being in Fort Worth, what it means to be in a place where you have this level of representation in such a huge place for tourism.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, it is beautiful to be a black cowboy right here, a cowboy in general. As you can see, Jose behind me and myself, we represent the Fort Worth herd, the drovers, and the drovers of the 1800s. And that was very, very important because they were called drovers. The cowboys were called drovers before they were called cowboys. And the reason why is because they drove cattle. Right? Why they weren't called drivers, I don't know, but they were called drovers. It was very significant because the time period that we're representing is between 1865 and the late 1880s, when the economy here in Texas was busted after the Civil War. And so they would round these cattle longhorns up in San Antonio and drive them right through here in Fort Worth on into Kansas, where they could make money. And also what we really love about this is being a part of this, because as you can look around and you pan the audience, you see a melting pot. And that's what Fort Worth is representing right now. We're like the great American melting pot. You see black, you see a white, you see Hispanic, you see every shade of nationality here. And that is very important. And that was actually what the cowboys back then, the drovers, were a very diverse group. We're talking about 1/4 of them were black. And then you had the Hispanic vaquero, the Mexican vaquero, you had the European white cowboy, and you also had the Native American. So this right here, the Opal Lee walk, it represents, it embodies what America should be about. And it is very, very important that we learn from that. Back then, it didn't matter what your color was. As long as you can ride a horse, as long as you can work cattle, and you can hold your end up, that's what it was all about. And you were treated as such, and you got paid as equally as such. And right now, when I look at this, I'm so proud of the representation of every ethnic group, and that's really what we should learn from that. You know, I'm excited. Yeah. Hey, thank you.
Thank you, Don. No, we appreciate you being here today and sharing that bit of history, such a critical part of the culture. And what he said about diversity is what's so important, because he's right. We have every, walk of life, creed, color, religion, people cheering and chanting. And that's certainly what Dr. Opal Lee wants. Freedom, diversity, unity for all. Laura?
Absolutely,
Deborah?
Brittany. Absolutely. Hey, back on Juneteenth 2020, the Fort Worth City Council honored another drover, Rocky Roney, with a proclamation announcing Juneteenth as Rocky Roney Day. He was one of a longtime member of the Fort Worth herd, serving as an ambassador of goodwill for the city alongside his trusted steed, Little Texas, and was known for bringing a smile to the faces of many, especially through his time as a drover, representing Fort Worth's Western heritage and culture of hospitality.
Rocky Roney's sister, Gloria Roney, recalls that he was the only cowboy we had in the family, and he was so proud to be a cowboy. That was his true calling. Everybody he met back then, he would let them know that he was the black cowboy for the Fort Worth herd. He'd let them know to come and watch the Fort Worth herd cattle drive. And I got to put a plug in here for Fort Worth.
Please do.
Down there in the historic stockyards, there really is a cattle drive that happens every single day, Laura. Every single day, 11 a.m., you see these drovers bring these longhorn cattle with these big horns right down Exchange Street, and you stand back and you watch anything. I'm going to take a picture with that. And we also heard Brittany's guest, the drover, Don Lee, talking about just the culture, the cultural diversity that is along the cattle drive. If you want to know more about that, Fort Worth is also home to the National Multicultural Western Heritage Museum. This is the work of a man named Jim Austin, and you've met him, Laura, I know, to just tell the story of every story that would happen along the cattle drive, and just the diversity and the richness that we have here in the Western world.
Yeah, speaking of more stories, let's talk to Brittany with another incredible story. Brittany?
Hey there. Hey there. We have gone from cowboys to a dance break here. We've got a wonderful musician, Godbold, going to turn it over so that you can see him play. People have stopped to do a little dancing here. Take in the music.
Silent, there's no interruptions. We do what we do, think what we want, just having fun, setting assumptions. You right in front of me. There's nowhere I'd rather be. And this moment is all I need. Say la vie, let's ride. Come on. It's alright, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright. I need to do, I'm all back. Now I just wanna be with you like catch flies. I see you Miss Opal, baby. Catch flies. It's all day, doing everything I need to do. I'm all back. Now I just wanna be with you like catch flies, baby. Catch flies. Our phones are on silent, there's no interruptions. We do what we do, do what we want, just having fun, set your assumptions. You right in front of me, there's nowhere I'd rather be.
If you are just joining us, you are watching Opal's Walk for Freedom Live, brought to you by Unity Unlimited, Inc. and presented by Heal America. We're seeing Opal's family down there right now. Ms. Dion Sims, Dr. Lee's granddaughter, and Ms. Dion's son, RJ Sims. Brittany has them now. Brittany?
Right here with RJ, who's busy, of course, as we make our way closer and closer to the finish line here. Just tell me how you're feeling today being here. I see you got your camera. I know you're a filmmaker as well.
I'm a photographer from Miss Opal, yes, ma'am.
Talk to me about this moment and what it's like being here, watching her take these steps.
It's emotional, you know, watching her for so long. We've been all my whole life watching her build this moment up to what it is, and to see it to the fruition that it is, it's amazing. You know, it's great to see that it finally came to the goals that she had been trying to accomplish this whole time.
And that goal being making it a national holiday, this now being the second year. You said you grew up with sort of this history and this legacy. What do you want to see moving forward? All these people here working together and marching together. What more do you hope to see in Fort Worth and beyond?
Well, I definitely want to see more tolerance and more understanding about the history, because a lot of people see a commercialization of it, but we want to see more knowledge and more education of the history, because it's more than just a celebration. It's a remembrance of our past and understanding how far we need to go for the future, so we don't repeat the same things that we did. It's tolerance for different generations that we need to teach for our younger generation on how to be, you know, just more tolerant of each other, you know, and understanding that we need to, you know, put more love. Miss Opal's all about love and education, and so she's all about putting that out there.
Love and education. RJ Sims, her grandson, thank you so much for being here with us. Anything else you want to share about today, about this moment?
It's just a lot, you know. It's a lot of overstimulation, you know. Just
with the heat.
With the heat, you know, there's a lot going on. But you know, just to see so many people passionate, not only about her, but you know, about Juneteenth, and seeing how it was started as a grassroots, you know, and there's so many grassroots celebrations all around the country, you know, and it's great to see my city have a grassroots celebration that blew up to such a big event. Yeah.
It blew up, and I appreciate your time here. I know that you're busy and that you're documenting this as well. RJ, thank you for your time. You know, I think he said so many things that are critical and important to Dr. Opal Lee's mission in moving this forward, and they want this to be a moment where people truly learn something about love, about unity, but again, about our past and the lessons that we need to learn to move forward better together. Laura, Deborah?
All right, thank you so much, Brittany. And RJ Sims represents one of the most precious freedoms gained in emancipation, the freedom to actually have your own children and name them. Yeah. Think about that. Like, just to have your own children, and then once you have children, to have the freedom to name them. Just a few generations ago, some Americans didn't have that basic human right. But as you heard there, RJ, Ms. Dion, they're bright examples of what this generation has done, what so many before them have made sure of the freedoms that they can have.
Yeah, and they, you know, they stand on the shoulders, you know, of ancestors who did not enjoy those freedoms, and now today we do. RJ has just, as Laura was talking about, incredible role models. He's got his grandmother, Dr. Opal Lee. He has his own mom, Dion Sims, who just really takes a cue from her granddear, as she calls her, to continue to lead this fight. And, you know, for all of you, maybe you're just clicking in right now. You've been busy with your Saturday, whatever it is. We really want to welcome you to the 2nd annual Opal's Walk for Freedom. It is celebrating this country's 11th holiday, Juneteenth, and the freedom gained from men and women right here in the state of Texas who were enslaved, still enslaved, 2.5 years after Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. They were the last to gain their legal freedoms in this country. It's all led by Dr. Opal Lee, 95-year-old activist, the woman considered the grandmother of Juneteenth, joined by thousands, not just in Texas, but across this country, walking 2.5 miles to commemorate those 2.5 years. 2.5 years that those who were enslaved finally got those words that they were free. Taking a live look now as she continues to walk along in the Texas heat, using the stroller there to keep her steady as she walks this 2.5 miles. We think she's maybe about, 2.3 miles so far, but definitely making her way and determined, Laura, to walk every step until she reaches her destination.
And of course, last year's walk ended at the historic courthouse in downtown Fort Worth. And you might be asking, well, why is it different this year? It was a new dawn. Juneteenth was celebrated across the country as the 11th federal holiday. Well, Fort Worth is leading the charge, but the reason why it's not going to be where it was last year, Deborah, is because they're headed someplace else, right?
Yeah, change is coming, Laura. Change is coming, yes. In January of 2021, the city of Fort Worth decided, hey, we need to expand, we need bigger space, and so they bought the former Pier 1 headquarters, and will in the process right now of renovating that, making it the new city hall. It's kind of symbolic. It's a state-of-the-art facility, but they really want it to be a signal to the community that positive change and growth is happening everywhere. The mayor of Fort Worth, a friend of Dr. Lee's, Mayor Maddie Parker, she is committed to honoring history. She's committed to building a future in Fort Worth that represents its wide spectrum of citizens as the 13th largest city in the country.
She was an early supporter also of that beautiful National Juneteenth Museum that we showed you just a little bit ago, being built in the historic South Side, very near where our walk began. And she's been clear that Dr. Lee is a national treasure. That is true. And we're lucky that her roots stem from Fort Worth and North Texas. And now Dr. Lee and the Freedom Walkers and walking right to her doorsteps, bringing the conversation to the new City Hall. NBC5's Brittany Johnson is still out there with her right now. Brittany, what can you tell us?
Hey there. Well, you're right. She is still moving. We're rounding a corner here. We're in that home stretch. We are so close. And we have Dion Sims here, her granddaughter, really the power, working so hard with Unity Unlimited to pull off so much of that really critical, important programming. Dion, talk to us about getting aid to this point in this heat, but with all these people, so many different people here today.
And Brittany, that's the neat thing about Juneteenth. And I keep saying that Juneteenth is a unifier, which is what Ms. Opal always says. And when you start from this morning, folks were out here early for breakfast. Yes. Did you see all those folks? And then folks that are registering online to be a part of walking with her. It's like the movement in the 60s, the civil rights movement. You saw all ethnicities, all religions coming together for the right cause, what was right. And that's the same thing with what we're doing here. And as you see the different show of people, the rainbow of folks that are here to support her, you have to be amazed at the unity that Juneteenth does.
You speak of unity. It feels like people have been joining us as we've walked. We've had people all along the road. And speaking of people who've been joining us, we have Beto O'Rourke here, Democratic candidate for governor for the state of Texas. And you have been here. We saw you meeting a little bit earlier, with Dr. Opal Lee and with people here who are a part of this. What does it mean to you to see all of these people, all of these different groups really pushing forward, not just celebrating today, but talking about how we can move forward with sort of a greater understanding?
Well, I love it, and this is a testament to Ms. Opal Lee and her family and their leadership. They are not about defining us by our differences, but bringing us together. It's about unity, and I love it. You see it here. It's folks from all over North Texas and other parts who've come to march behind and with Miss Opal Lee and every one of her family members and everyone who's been part of this fight for so long to make sure this country lives up to its promise and realizes its potential. I'm honored to be here with Miss Opal Lee and her family.
And he's walked the whole way, so you see it. And some folks had to, because of health issues, we had a little incident, but not with Miss Opal. And the medics had to come and, help one of our cameramen, right? So everybody is putting just like she is, putting their selves on the line in this Texas heat to make sure that they show on the first anniversary of Juneteenth being made a holiday, that they're supporting the unity. And I think that is what's so important.
Dion saying supporting the unity, and earlier you were telling someone like, hey, this is not about politics. This is just us. This is about the future. This is about freedom. What kind of lesson can we all take from that right now, that it's something like this, celebrating Juneteenth, understanding, learning, and knowing our past, that does not necessarily have to be political or just for black people or just for white people, but for everyone?
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, I think that's a story of Ms. Opal Lee over the last 8 decades. And you probably know the story of her family's home being burned down on East Annie Street and what she lived through on June 19th, 1939 to today. The progress we've made is because of Opal Lee and others like her, but it's also people who come from different backgrounds, different life experiences, who Ms. Opal Lee was able to break through to, and who understood what her experience had been like. And it awakened their empathy, their compassion, and the unity that we keep hearing about today. That's what's so exciting. Listen, we've got a long way to go to realize our potential as a state and as a country, but I'm confident because of people like Ms. Opal Lee, her kids who are here, her grandkids who are here, her great-grandkids, and her great-great-grandkids who are here, we're going to get this done. And I tell you, that's a true reflection of the spirit of the people of Texas. That's Republicans, that's Democrats, that's independents, that's all of us.
All of us, all of us. Dion, we're almost there. How are you feeling? Getting close?
We're doing good. We're doing good. We've had great support, got a great support staff, and I think that what the whole thing is today. All right, and after we finish the walk, we'll take a break and we'll come back for the festival at Panther Island Pavilion. Want everybody to come out and continue celebrating Juneteenth all the rest of the evening. And then we have the fireworks at night with Sir Earl Toon. And I just think that with all that we're doing, all of our sponsors that have helped us heal America as a national sponsor, because they believe in the things that we believe in and helping to heal the soul of America. JCPenney, Noon, all the folks that have supported us, So I just really appreciate all the diversity and inclusion. We're DEI poster child.
Poster child and persistence, the poster child for persistence, as well as we persist in this heat. I think I just felt a breeze.
Just a little bit.
But we're going to move forward together here. I'm going to let these two get back to the walk. We're so close, Laura and Deborah. And as you can see right behind us, once again, using that stroller, we've got Dr. Opal Lee taking those steps, marching forward.
Brittany, you're right. They are so very close. And Dr. Lee said in the beginning, I'm walking every step of the way, headed to New City Hall.
And we're kind of making a big deal about, it's so hot out there.
Yeah.
I loved how her granddaughter said, we had to stop, not for my grandmother, but for one of the photographers.
That was on us.
Well, Laura, I was looking at the paper yesterday, and this is on the cover of the entertainment section of the Dallas Morning News, Juneteenth Joy. But what I take away is that picture of Opal Lee. She's been through this Texas heat before. She is Texas tough, born in East Texas, made Fort Worth, Cowtown her home. She can handle this Texas
She's fine.
heat. Oh, yeah.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
She's doing better than most of us would have done out there.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Last year, Laura talked about that this 2.5-mile walk ended at the historic Tarrant County Courthouse downtown. It was just days after President Joe Biden had signed Juneteenth into law, making it the 11th federal holiday. There was a sense of victory over the past, and now here we are a year later as this walk continues, and the destination is the new City Hall in Fort Worth. This building, Laura, kind of sits up on a hill. It's a multi-story building. The old City Hall, well, they're still working on it now. It's kind of a 2-story, 3-story. It served its purpose, but the new City Hall just rises so much higher. It kind of sits up on a hill so that when you are moving through downtown and you see that, it it really does, in my mind, just serve as a shining example of the newness of Fort Worth, new opportunity, a time for change, and that there is a bright future ahead.
And a new horizon.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what we're seeing here with the people who are walking with Dr. Lee right now. I mean, look, the people are walking up to her, giving her hugs. She's like, don't stop me. Don't slow me down. I got to get there.
Yeah, and this flower in the center of this picture is, well, it was, the old Pier 1 building, which is in the process of being transformed into the new Fort Worth City Hall. And I'm going to take a minute here because we were listening to, there it is right there. That's the old Pier 1 headquarters. You see it kind of standing there on top of that hill, right there along the edge of the Trinity River. Just a really beautiful place. That's the destination that Dr. Lee and those traveling with her are getting to. But, you know, you talked a little bit ago how I was part of a Juneteenth celebration with Dr. Lee earlier this year, and they gave us a packet, and it gave the history of what Juneteenth is. But it also talked about what is Juneteenth today. And if you're thinking, I don't know how to celebrate this, I love some of the tips about how you can add deeper meaning to the celebration. One is strong words, to take inspiration and the powerful words of famous African Americans, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Langston Hughes, Maya Angelou, you know, designate a few minutes to just Google it, find some of those words and really understand the meaning of it. Also talked about put your family first, because in times of slavery, families were separated, and we saw children taken from their parents. We saw husbands and wives separated, and so look for gaps in your family tree. Take those precious photos with your family and hold on to those moments and celebrate with song. You know, music was so integral to for hope and the hope of freedom and celebration. So find a song and sing it. Maybe lift every voice and sing would be one appropriate to sing.
Which is, to your point, I mean, that's how we started this walk.
Yeah.
Lift Every Voice and Sing was being sung at that time, which is considered the Black national anthem. And it's, if you just look through the words, if you don't know what we're talking, just look at the lyrics.
Yeah.
It's truly incredible what that story represents and what that song represents.
Okay, so you see here taking a live look and thinking, well, who is this? Who's this lovely lady? Well, that, my friends, is Madison Corzine. She is Miss Juneteenth 2022. She's a high school student, just a lovely young woman, one of the participants in the Juneteenth walk. And I think that Brittany, is Brittany going to have a chat now with Miss Madison Corzine?
Hey there. Yes, we are ready. We are here with Madison and the other runner-ups and the participants in the Miss Juneteenth 2022 pageant. It is so nice to have them here because this is the future, right? We hear Dr. Opal Lee talking about the future. Madison, talk to me. What does it mean to you to be Miss Juneteenth?
To me, it's really about being able to represent the city and the area of Dallas-Fort Worth, and then also being able to learn and grow in terms of how to speak to people, how to elevate your cause and your platform.
Speaking of elevating your cause and your platform, Miss Opal Lee knows a lot about that, getting all of these people out here. What's it like for you to have all of these people here, to be someone of your age, but to see people of all ages, all walks of life, continuing to promote and make sure that we all know how significant Juneteenth is for all of us?
It's really important to be able to see people of all walks of life and all ages because of the fact that it shows that we are unified in this one cause. And it's really inspiring to see that.
Well, it's inspiring to see you and your lovely crown. Congratulations. We are so excited for you and proud of you. We know you have a scholarship from this. You're going to continue on with your education, which is so important. We have put something together to show you all a little bit more about the Miss Juneteenth pageant. We want to show that to you.
When I was 16 or 17, living in Amarillo, I entered a Miss Juneteenth pageant, as practically probably every Black girl living in Texas did at one point in time in our lives. To have this pathway to a scholarship was huge. My dad didn't want me to leave to go to college, so I had to go to the junior college locally. Having the opportunity to be a part of the Juneteenth pageant system and have that scholarship, it allowed me to dream larger than Amarillo College. It allowed me to dream larger than West Texas A&M University. And it allowed me to dream as to what is possible. The scholarship that came through the Miss Juneteenth pageant allowed me to see that further for myself and to see it as a true possibility. It also allowed me to show up and have this talent that at the time I didn't recognize as a talent. And then what fostered and came out of that changed my life. And what it meant for me and what it means for young Black women is something that I don't think we celebrate enough, which is a pathway and an opportunity to see ourselves larger and bigger than where we are. I think that there's something like Miss Juneteenth that lives in everyone, that gives them that courage, that gives them that inspiration, and that catalyst to be what they want to and choose to be. I did not win the pageant, but looking back on it, I did win. I won the confidence. I won this story an experience that will never leave me. And I've won in the long run because Miss Juneteenth and that pageant, I know, was the beginning trajectory that led me here to Fort Worth.
You just listen to the recounting of the Miss Juneteenth experience from Afton Battle, the executive director of the world-renowned Fort Worth Opera. Deborah, you just talked to her.
I did.
We were celebrating Black Music Month at NBC5, and you just finished talking to her about this very thing.
Yeah,
just an incredible experience.
Yeah, she came to Fort Worth Opera in late 2020, so right as in the middle of the pandemic, and she's a history maker, a trailblazer. She is the first woman to lead Fort Worth Opera. She is the first Black general director of the Fort Worth Opera, and she came in part with a goal that she wanted, but also a mandate from the board, and that is be the people's opera. Her goal is to connect community to opera. Sometimes when you think about opera, it seems a little, I don't know, lofty. Like it's not for me. I don't have a place in it.
Those people?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And that her goal is to show that it is an opera, that it is for community. She wants the diversity that's in Fort Worth to be reflected on the stage. The performers in opera, she wants that diversity there in her staff, on her board, and she wants to take opera into the community. So, for example, when, during the pandemic, when there couldn't be performances inside the beautiful Bass Performance Hall, they rented a flatbed trailer. And they would take that trailer into park spaces and parking lots, and her opera singers would perform on top of the flatbed trailer. They've just announced their 2022-23 season, more firsts in this season. The first Black conductor, the first female conductor in April, right before they present Aida. There will be a symposium to look at race in the arts, diversity in the arts, to just continue to further the conversation and really stress that message of inclusion. And the more we include, the more we have representation, the better off we all are.
And to prove that people of color definitely can do it. They just need the opportunity to do it. I mean, for so long we have seen, as you were saying, Deborah, operas and finer arts that they only include a certain group of people.
Right.
And Afton was just proving there that that's just, it doesn't have to be the case anymore.
Yeah, just like Opal Lee wants to educate, Afton Battle wants to do that, educate through music. Education also a big focus of the city's mayor, Maddie Parker, just elected about a year ago, making history. It's the youngest mayor that Fort Worth has ever had.
Every single kid deserves and must have access to a high quality education. When you think about education, not just in Fort Worth, but Texas, United States wide, everybody needs to care about it. Doesn't matter if you have kids yourself, you're talking about your grandchildren, your neighbors next door. The way we invest in our students and classrooms today is really the way the country's gonna look in the future. And I think as adults, we have to look ourselves in the mirror right now and ask the question, are we doing enough for those students? Think about all the unrealized talent, right? When you don't invest in those students, regardless of income or background or race. And so in Fort Worth, we're really trying to invest that way. And I'm truly inspired by messages like Opal Lee when I think about the future of this city and what education means to Fort Worth, and trying to do our best to be in her footsteps and think about the future of this city. Opal's this example of someone that I bet you she had teachers and people around her and parents that loved her to say, we're gonna keep focused on this pathway to become a college graduate, a school teacher and counselor, and now truly a racial justice warrior. Think about what she's accomplished, not just for Texas, but for the entire country and the world. She's now this beacon of hope for so many people. My grandfather, I remember him really taking a lot of effort and time to explain Texas history to me, or US history, or what are you learning today, and let's walk through that. Do you understand the why behind it? And it really does make me sad in so many ways. That's not the opportunity that so many students are afforded right now for a variety of reasons. Our history does matter. You have to unpack that and live through it. Otherwise, you don't heal as a country or as a state or as a city. And you know, right now in this country, we have to protect our children first and foremost. And education is where it all begins. And helping a student realize their dreams is not cliche. It truly is. Every mama wants what's best for their kid. And if I try to take that same translation, how I feel about my young ones right now and what their dreams are, and you try to apply that same principle to the community, I think we could all be okay.
It's just so exciting to hear that enthusiasm and commitment to education from the mayor and her commitment to make sure that everyone in Fort Worth receives a great education, because I think that's another thing that we talk about is everybody wasn't allowed to have an education throughout all of American history, and it's incredible to see more people doing so. All right, let's talk to NBC5's Brittany Johnson right now, who's back down on the street with the walkers. Hi there, Brittany.
Hey there. Yes, we know education's so important. It truly is power. And you mentioned the mayor's commitment to education here in Fort Worth. The superintendent of Crowley ISD here with us, Michael McFarland. Talk to us about that commitment and how you see it really coming to fruition, coming to life for the students and their families.
No doubt. We know education is the passport. And so we're excited that the mayor has really made education a priority for us. And so we want to make sure our kids have choices and opportunities. And so we here in Crowley and in Fort Worth are able to really highlight education as a result of services and sacrifice like Ms. Lee and others.
We talk about her service and her sacrifice, and you all really made a sort of an homage to that, paid homage to that by having a day of service. Talk to me about that. And you said it's not just a day of service, but a season of service for your students in Dr. Lee's honor.
Yeah, so Dr. Lee, you know, her honor of just going servicing and servicing the community kind of inspired us to say, you know what, we can have a day of service in Crowley ISD. The kids loved it, and so we decided to turn it into a season of service so that all of them will get a chance to really experience what it feels like to give to others and make things better for others.
And what did you see from the students that let you know they really hear you, they really understand Dr. Opal Lee and the work that she's doing?
Well, you know, one of the things is when you see them excited about being able to serve, what you know is we're really teaching leadership. And so that really they were excited and wanted to serve. And the more we served, the more they wanted to.
Well, we appreciate you. I think we all are trying to follow in the example and the footsteps of Dr. Lee. I'm going to scoot close here just to check in a little bit because we're getting close. Dion, Dr. Opal Lee, how you feeling? Just checking in.
Oh, girl, I'm almost there.
Lots of cheers.
I can see it from here. Must be the glory land.
All right. Here we go, moving forward. She can see it from here, and she's feeling good.
Brittany, thank you so much. I love what she said. Blessed be the glory land. In this case, she means that new city hall and finally the end of her 2.5-mile walk today. You can feel definitely a lot of energy there as it finally comes to an end.
And possibly the most important freedom that we've talked about today, gained in the emancipation on full display now within the confines of a church, but nevertheless powerful. The freedom to just worship.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. And we want to explore that right now with Bishop Kenneth Spears of First St. John Cathedral in Fort Worth. So glad to have you here, Bishop Spears.
It's great to be here. This is really exciting.
Yeah. So,
thank you so much.
Native of Fort Worth, you've had connections with Dr. Lee?
I have. I'm born and raised, moved away for a while to go off to school, but man, she has been a part of my life and my family's life for a long time. So I'm really, really excited. She has the drive. You can see she has the drive
right.
and the energy and has always had it. So I'm really excited about that.
She keeps saying out loud, glory be, the importance of the African-American church has dated back just centuries.
Yes. So just First St. John alone, 1905, we celebrate 117 years. A major part of where I am, Terrell, what you've talked about today, everything that she's doing, she's about, First St. John has been a part of that. The church has had to be a part of every step in terms of faith, trusting God to bring about the change that's needed. And you know, how refreshing is that, that we're coming full circle to see faith work, you know, for our society. And, you know, she's a very spiritual woman. You can tell that she has a great prayer life. And so prayer is the key. It really is.
Yeah, it can be difficult, you know, sometimes I think for a lot of people to hold on to faith and to hold on to that higher power, that good will prevail, that will defeat evil.
Right.
How do you hold on to that, Bishop Spears?
You know, I really believe in faith. I have a great prayer life. We have what we call a 50 days of prayer. We're just coming out for the second time this year. But prayer is the key, you know. You've got to have such a relationship with God to trust Him in spite of the way things look. No matter what you hear, no matter what you see, you have to believe that God is going to do His part. You know, the Bible says, and we know that all things work together for good for them who love the Lord. And so this is powerful. Yes.
I got to ask you this, Pastor Spears. Today's date is June 18th, Saturday. Tomorrow is Sunday, June 19th, the day. We will celebrate the holiday on Monday, the 20th. But I'm curious, what's your message going to be from the pulpit tomorrow?
Yeah, what is exciting is I've been doing a series of messages on the kingdom of God. And so I'm going to talk about the kingdom as it relates to freedom, what God has been able to do. You know, everything about today, where we've come from, has to do much with Jesus Christ's dying on the cross. And what freedom is that? That not only did He die, but He rose from the dead, and He lives today. But He makes that freedom available for everybody. And that's been the kind of signature theme I've been hearing. Everybody, you know, you can't compartmentalize what salvation does, what God does. Everybody has an opportunity to be saved. And how powerful is that races are blending together. Cultures are coming together for a greater purpose and a greater cause.
What I love so much is just seeing that the freedom of being able to worship. You know, when we talk about when Juneteenth happened and so many people were finally set free after 2.5 years when they were already supposed to, just to think that there were people who would worship in secret. But they never let that stop them.
They never let that stop them. And, you know, even as you've talked about songs, you know, how epic is that, you know, if I can't pray, I can still sing. I can sing my song, and I can sing that song that refreshes me. It lifts me. It moves me into a place. And then the powerful piece is that everything that Jesus did was outside. I mean, I could do a whole run just on what Jesus did. Outside.
You know,
Healed the sick, you know,
thinking too,
the blind man that was raised, you know, outside.
You know, I'm thinking too, we're watching the Walk to Freedom, but tomorrow you're going to be talking about a different Walk to Freedom there from the pulpit.
Amen, I am. And I'm telling you, you know, there's a place where you have to begin to proclaim. Amazingly, a few weeks ago, I gave this word. You can either, as a pastor, as a believer, repeat what you hear, or you can proclaim what He's saying. And that's what I'm saying to us today. We can continue to repeat what we hear, or we can proclaim what He is saying. And what He's saying is freedom. He's saying freedom for everybody. Freedom in terms of your money, you know, freedom in terms of your name, you know, freedom in terms of operation or opportunities that can occur in everybody's life. I love telling this. I have probably as many daughters in ministry as I do. I have 120 sons and daughters. To a large degree, women outnumber. So when you say Fort Worth Opera, when you say Mayor of Fort Worth, all of these pieces, even in ministry, I've got women who are major, you know. Our language is that they can load it and dump it.
You know, I love that. Thank you so much, Bishop Spears, as we take a lot of, and we see Opal Lee doing a ministry of another kind today.
She is doing amazing.
Leading it.
She is leading it. I mean, how powerful is that?
She's almost there. She is almost there. Speaking of, let's check in with our Brittany right now. Brittany?
Hey there, Laura.
How's it going in the AC?
Just kidding.
Things are going really well. Things are going really well out here. We are about to turn on to Summit, which is nice because that means we're getting really, really close to City Hall and to seeing Miss Opal Lee, Dr. Opal Lee, make it to the end of what has been an incredible journey, what's been emotional. I think we heard her grandson, RJ, describe this as emotional for so many people here, being a part of this, seeing all that she's doing to make it through. You know, she's leaning on the stroller. They've got the cool towel around the neck. They've got the fans around her neck. They've got sort of cool sleeves there with towels that are there as well, because she is determined. This little old lady here is determined to do this every step of the way. And as you can see here, the crowd, I feel like it's grown, because every corner we get to, there are people who are cheering, go Dr. Lee, go Miss Opal. They are cheering her on, and then they are joining on to the crowd, really building on the momentum of this mission here. So while people are a little tired and while people are a little hot, above all, they're excited. They're grateful for the opportunity to be here and to walk alongside her. It looks like we're making a little bit of a switch here, but we've got plenty of folks. We've got Fort Worth PD, and we've got lots of guides here making sure that this all goes well. But you can see we're kind of turning the corner. You heard her earlier. She said the end is in sight. She can see it, and she is moving onward. So we'll send it back to you all, and we'll keep an eye on things for you. But it looks like we're close to seeing this moment come to fruition and seeing her really get to celebrate the end of another really successful walk, and now the second, with Juneteenth being a federal holiday, which is something we know she spent decades fighting for.
Absolutely love that. And we'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us here. The ritual coming to its finale as Dr. Opal Lee and so many people who have gotten with her now, headed to the new City Hall of Fort Worth and ceremonially kick-starting a year of freedom, pushing this great experiment further, expanding on past success and facing past transgressions, of reaching out across the void and reaching in, seeking our greater selves. You know, all of this in honor of those great Americans who endured unjust enslavement and finally were granted their God-given freedom, thereby fulfilling an ideal greater than its forefathers, a country where all men and women are born free with those inalienable rights.
Yeah, it was an ideal fulfilled on paper, June 19, 1865. Still working, of course, to fully realizing in our practical world. What an awesome testimony to the power of the ideal before us today. Deborah Ferguson, Laura Harris here with you in studio. We want to quickly now get back out to our live coverage of the Walk of Freedom. Yes, we are just getting the word there. We are just getting the word there that Dr. Opal Lee has finished the 2.5 mile walk.
Look at the people cheering.
Yeah, a 2.5 mile walk. She's done it with temperatures nearing 100 degrees here in Fort Worth, Texas. Fort Worth police, firefighters, paramedics have been with her, and she has now decided, I've done my 2.5 miles. I told you I would. I'm in the pink.
In the beginning, she said, I'm going to do it.
Yes. So she has hopped into a little golf cart provided by the Fort Worth Police Department to make the final couple of steps there to City Hall.
All right. Hopefully we'll be able to get that picture for you because it's so, there we go.
There
it's
it
so
is.
important for you to see. I mean, this started, Deborah, at 10 o'clock when she told our Brittany Johnson, when are we going to get this thing started? And she did exactly what she said she was going to do.
Yeah.
And we see that golf cart moving there now. They're headed there. Let's go back down to our Brittany Johnson. Brittany, this is so incredible.
Hey there. Hey everyone, it is a true celebration because we have gotten to this point, the point that she told us she was going to make it, Dion. She said, I know you want me to ride. I know there are some people who are concerned, but I'm going to do this every step of the way. And she did it. How are you all feeling?
So the route was a little more than 2.75. It's actually 2.75 to Pier 1 from the south side. And I told her, I said, you've made it the 2.5. I said, can we get in the golf cart now? Can we get in the cart to take the 0.25 in? Yes. And she said, okay. They've been trying to get her on the cart the whole time, but she wanted to make her 2.5, and she did.
And she did. And what was driving her? What was driving you all every step of the way?
Her desire for folks to be aware of the 2.5 years is symbolic, and that's what she walked all over the country. And so 2.5 is the number. So we did 2.5. We're taking the 0.25 back up to City Hall, and she's going to finish that way. But she did her 2.5.
She did it. She did it. And we were so here and so grateful to be here, to be able to be a part of this. Dion Sims, granddaughter of Dr. Opal Lee here, Unity Unlimited. They're behind everything that we're seeing today, this huge crowd bringing folks together, and the golf cart right here that she's taken in for just that 0.2, okay, because she did her thing. And I'm also going to remind you, she said in advance, I think that's a little long. She told me twice. She told me earlier this week and this morning, I think that route is a little bit longer than 2.5 miles. So once again, Dr. Opal Lee was right.
Yeah, we've always known it was 2.75. And the fact that, but it was symbolic for her to come to the City Hall. That's a new story for Fort Worth. The grandma, she loves her city. And so the fact that we're ending here at the new City Hall was a part of the plan. And so, yeah, it was a little longer, but she did her 2.5.
She did it, and you did it along with her, Dion. Thank you
Everybody
so much.
did.
Everyone did, and now the celebration continues. We know there's more to come at Town Hall, more to come later in the day, and the work of Unity Unlimited and Dr. Opal Lee continues, of course, 365 days a year.
365.
Laura, Deborah.
It's just awesome, Brittany, to see. Like, I'm kind of just sitting here just trying to take all of this in. Because, you know, a couple times there we saw making sure that she was okay, and she would stop, get some water, get some Gatorade, and now that we're really seeing it, it's just truly incredible.
Yeah, and Laura knows this, and I'll share this with you. At one point, I was texting one of the paramedics I know to say, hey, you know, is she okay? What's going on? He goes, it's not her. It's the other people around her. She's fine.
She's absolutely fine. And we appreciate her doing what she's done because, I mean, with this crowd here, probably hundreds of people. There are people all across this country right now in big cities, small cities across this country who are also walking alongside her.
Yeah. You saw there a little bit ago the City Hall. That is her destination. You can kind of see Opal Lee there in the back in that police cart. Everybody else still walking alongside of her as they make the final steps toward the City Hall and the closing ceremonies. And what we'll see there is the raising of the Juneteenth flag. More celebration will continue there in just a few moments. But, you know, you can't start a party, Laura, unless the guest of honor
without the guest
is there.
of honor.
Yeah, right.
So she's headed up there right now. And, you know, again, you were hearing Brittany saying there that Dr. Lee told her earlier this week, I think it's a little longer than 2.5. So she did her 2.5. She's riding the rest of the way. And no doubt a joyful celebration will be awaiting her when they get to the new City Hall. Oh, my goodness. And then you see all of these people now, the Fort Worth police making sure that they're getting them there. And Deborah, you can help us out a little bit more. You're from Fort Worth. How close are we at this point? It's got to be pretty close now.
Oh, they're there.
They're there. That's awesome.
Oh, and it's uphill, Laura. This new City Hall kind of sits up on a hill. But if you kind of take a look in the shot over to the right, yeah, you can kind of see the police cart. But yeah, she is there. they haven't actually moved into this city hall yet. They're in the process of renovating it, but it's like a beacon on a hill, and I can understand why this was her destination. This is a change for Fort Worth, a huge change from where City Hall has been for years. This is a symbol of something new, something shiny, symbol of change. This particular building, the old Pier 1 headquarters, was bought when the city had a different mayor. Mayor Betsy Price was the mayor, and now we have Mayor Maddie Parker, who was elected into office a year ago, elected at the age of 38 at the time, one of the youngest to lead one of the largest cities in Fort Worth. And we've heard from Maddie Parker and her connection that she also has to Opal Lee, as they are united in furthering education and opportunity for so many.
Yeah, and so many people out there just there to celebrate this incredible event. You see from the top there, we could just see all of those people now moving in. We know that the Juneteenth flag will soon be raised. And I do believe we might be able to go back down to our Brittany Johnson, who's there live, who's been there the entire time. Brittany, can you hear us?
We talk about Brittany, Brittany's walking that 2.7 miles too.
And she's done it incredibly. And I think right now who we're hearing from is the Fort Worth Opera. Deborah, you were able to speak with their leader just about a week ago. And one thing that I just find very incredible about them is that not only are they showcasing how incredible their talents are, but they're showing the world that they have those incredible talents. I'm not sure if it's the Fort Worth Opera that we're hearing from right now, but maybe off to the right there. And you can see all those people getting there and just excited to be in the space where Dr. Opal Lee is going to be as well.
Yeah, as we've heard so many times, and also what we were talking about with Bishop Spears with First St. John Cathedral. Music is a big part of celebrations. Music is a big part of the Juneteenth celebration. And you were talking about the leader of the Fort Worth Opera now, the general director, Afton Battle. This is her group that is singing there. This is part of what she wants to do, to put opera, to put these voices into the community, to make it accessible wherever you are in Fort Worth. You also see there is Sharan Goodspeed Keaton, the manager of education and community engagement, really kind of leading that effort to get opera into the community. Just an incredible troupe of artists. She's a giant in the Fort Worth arts community as well. She is in charge of community education, and the Fort Worth Opera really does a great job of helping to grow talent. They have artists in residence who come and are part of their opera season. They already have their 3 or 4 selected, I believe, for the 2022-23 season. So just some new voices, some new opportunity, and really trying to give voice, space, and stage to locally grown talent as well.
And that's the way to continue that through generations to come, to make sure that you continue to foster that talent and showing people that they, in fact, are worthy. Dr. Lee loves all that is history.
Yeah.
It's such a part of this community, a part of Fort Worth. As Deborah was saying before, from the stockyards to the jazz clubs, the museums to barbecue, the city of Fort Worth is Dr. Opal Lee's home. That's where she calls home now, and it's an incredible place to be. And that's where our Brittany is right now. Brittany, can you hear us?
There she is. That's Brittany. Go to Brittany. Hey there, I can hear you, but you are competing a little bit with the opera, of course. And the cheering crowd here today. It feels like the night because it has been such a long, hot walk, but we have made it here. This was the goal, to make it here to this celebration. She did her 2.5 miles, and we are now here preparing for the very end of this ceremony. People are taking in really powerful music from this opera here, and you can see there's a crowd gathered around enjoying this. The lyrics are so powerful: standing strong, be thankful, be proud. So I think it really, really just encompasses everything that so many of us have felt walking along with Dr. Lee today. Just a source of strength and power and inspiration, who we're all following in her footsteps. So here you have it again, just one more critical, important moment here of this celebration for Dr. Opal Lee.
Brittany Johnson there, part of the group walking with Dr. Lee. You see there the woman in the straw hat and the white shirt. That is the mayor of Fort Worth, Mayor Maddie Parker.
Here she goes.
Maddie Parker, and I'm really pleased to be the mayor of Fort Worth, Texas. But importantly, that means we are home to Miss Opal Lee. What a momentous day. Miss Opal just signified what it means to walk 2.5 miles to freedom. Right? Today, in 110-degree heat, nothing will stop Miss Opal from getting her message across. And how beautiful it is to see all of you out here today to celebrate alongside all of us who love her and love what she represents. Opal's Walk for Freedom today on June 18th, 2022. Truly special. I'm going to spend just a few minutes and then we're going to bring Miss Opal up here on stage to bring a very special proclamation. I think I have a few council members I'd like to bring up on stage. If you're Michael or Chris or Jared, I don't know where you went. I can't see you out here. So I'm going to say a few things. If you could listen for just a moment. This is about Miss Opal. We need to understand what Opal truly means, what she exemplifies. She's a teacher, an author, an activist, a pillar of the Fort Worth community, and really now an example for the entire world of what it looks like to have the tenacity and the refusal to ever give up no matter what. What she achieved in Washington, by the way, was a bipartisan solution. Isn't that wonderful? An example of what it looks like to work together to accomplish something great for all people. I, for one, am incredibly proud to call her my Fort Worth. She's really the mayor of Fort Worth, let's be honest, right? She represents what it means to never give up and do what's right. I see so many young people out here that made the walk today. I know some of her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren were out there today. Her legacy will never, ever be forgotten. So the city of Fort Worth wanted to do something special to think about what today means in the history of Fort Worth. And rather than read a bunch of whereas clauses, because it's really hot out here, I'm going to read one to you that I think reflect the importance of why we all wanted to be out here to celebrate Miss Opal and what true freedom looks like and how important the journey needs to be to continue that quest to true freedom here in the United States of America and importantly in Texas. So bear with me for just a moment. And whereas this year, Opal's Walk for Freedom will continue with the symbolic 2.5-mile trek, recognizing the 2.5 years it took for the news of freedom to reach all of enslaved people in the United States. She leads a special caravan during a live broadcast in light of her goal to increase awareness of the significance of commemorating the freedom of all people. As Miss Opal says, none of us are free until we are all free. And now, therefore, the city of Fort Worth does hereby recognize and celebrate Saturday, June 18th, 2022 as Opal Walk for Freedom Day. I think we're going to bring Miss Opal out here. I know she was trying to cool off for a minute. That's right. Take her time. Why don't we do that? Let's bring Representative Nicole Collier up here. She's also got a very important proclamation from the state of Texas. Come on up here, Nicole.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, at the state of Texas, we recognize, at least we make sure they recognize all the work that we do in our community. And we've got a gym with Ms. Opal Lee, Dr. Lee. And so the state of Texas has passed a resolution. I joined my colleague, Representative Ramon Romero, where Dr. Lee lives in, but of course,
together we have a proclamation because she has worked tirelessly to ensure that our voices are heard, and she took her fight to Washington and made sure that we got recognized with this Juneteenth holiday. So I'm just going to read one part. Whereas for years, Ms. Lee has tirelessly advocated for the establishment of a national holiday for Juneteenth, the oldest known celebration commemorating the end of slavery in the United States. And in 2016, at the age of 90, she set out on a walking campaign across the country to bring awareness to the cause. She finally saw the culmination of her efforts when, following an invitation from the White House, she was present as President Joseph R. Biden Jr. signed the legislation that made Juneteenth a federal holiday on June 18, 2021. So therefore be it resolved that Opal Lee, the grandmother of Juneteenth, be commended for her merit achievements, and that she be extended sincere best wishes for all the work that she will continue to do in the future. Signed, the state of Texas. So let's give it up for Miss Opal Lee. She has set an example for us all to never give up. Never give up. All right, I think Miss Lee, is she about ready? We'll continue on with the program. All right, let's bring up our council members because they are here. You know, if you are here in support, we know that you're here to do the work. So let's bring up our council members and have them say a few words before we get Miss Opal Lee out. Here's Council Member Chris Nettles from District 8.
Power to the people. Power to the people. This is such a great occasion that we're here today to celebrate our freedom as a people. 2 years later, we in Texas found out that we should be free. But we want to appreciate Dr. Opal Lee. But I want to say Dr. Martin Luther King said, we are not all free until we all are free. We have come far, but we still got a long ways to go. And so we can't stop marching today. We can't stop marching tomorrow. But come November, we got to march to the polls. Vote your conscience. Vote for your people. Vote for change. Change that we can believe in. Until
Hop in the golf cart.
we can change,
You know, take a break.
white
It's hot out there.
supremacists
But
will
no,
not
no.
free.
I'm walking every step of the way. I'm doing 2.5 miles. So when finally her granddaughter, Dion Sims, said, "Granddear, you're in a 2.5 miles.
We're gonna take a seat."
Yeah, can you get in the cart now? Okay.
Okay. You know, I'm sitting here just kind of wondering what's going through her mind as she's sitting down inside in the air conditioner right now. I mean, this is all for her, but it's happening across the country.
Yeah.
Because of Dr. Opal Lee's vision, because of what she knew was right, because she wanted to have a federal holiday to celebrate. That's the reason why we're here today.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, it's hard to find words for that because that's truly incredible that we are watching a living legend.
Yeah, exactly. She is a living legend, Laura. She is a trailblazer. She's a difference maker, and she likes to say, "I'm just a little old lady in tennis shoes." She's a powerhouse.
You're a little bit more than that, ma'am.
She sure is. And you know, if you're thinking, I want to know more about Opal Lee, and you don't know about her, I really encourage you to, to do that, to learn about this woman who was from East Texas, grew up in a little town called Marshall, Texas. Her family moved her to Fort Worth. They get here and they move into a house, into a predominantly white neighborhood. And this was, I believe, in the 30s. And her family was not accepted. Her family was not accepted in this white neighborhood. On Juneteenth, there was a mob of 500 people came to her family's house and burned it. Burned it. And yet here she is now, look at this, still in Fort Worth on the steps of City Hall. Think about, she has been in the White House where it was signed into law that Juneteenth will be a federal holiday. You've seen here coming up on stage, state representatives, city council members, from the very, very powerful, Laura, in this country, down to the people who are hungry and need food. Opal Lee walks beside these individuals and does what she can to make a difference, no matter where that call for help comes from.
So beautifully said. And with that, we'll be right back.
We're going to let her say a few words before we bring Dr. Lee up here.
I cannot express how elated, overjoyed, as my grandmother would say, humbled by the show of support the city has done over the last year. Not just today, and even before it became a federal holiday. You guys you did the caravan in 2020 with over 300 cars following her when she did her first 2.5 here in Fort Worth walk for Juneteenth. And then last year and now this year. I cannot wait to see the newscast, to see the drones that show how much of Fort Worth loves the jewel that is my grandmother. And so we want to make sure you understand that, as Chris said, excuse me, to put a handle on it, I'm not that young. Councilman Nettles said that this isn't just for today. The 2.5-mile walk is something that symbolizes freedom. So if you have to now make it a goal on your treadmill, on your workout, to do 2.5 miles, and remember why you're doing 2.5 miles, and set that as a goal. If you need to do 25 miles, because that's enough for you, because you always do 10 or so, make it a point to do something that represents freedom for what Miss Opal believes. Is she coming? Is she here? All right. Okay. Help her up. Help her up.
Okay, Fort Worth, show her your love. We've got Dr. Opal Lee to the stage. Woo!
This microphone's for you, baby. Okay.
Hello, young people. And you're all young people if you're not 95. This has been wonderful. Oh. And you did it. And we're going to do some other things. You know, Juneteenth is freedom. And I'm advocating that we celebrate freedom from the 19th of June to the 4th of July. But I want you to make yourself a committee of one, because you know people who aren't on the same page that you are. And so you're going to have to change their minds. We took 1,500,000 signatures to Congress, and we were prepared to take that many more when we got to call to the White House. Can't you just imagine 3 million people on the same page? We could turn this country around. And we're going to have to do it, because we got too many disparities that need to be addressed. I want you to do something about your education system. I want the books to tell the truth, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. We need to know so people can heal from it and never let it happen again. So, it's left up to you. Change somebody's mind. If people can be taught to hate, they can be taught to love. And it's left to you to do it. I love you all.
Okay. So some of you may have been concerned that she got on the golf cart too early, or something was wrong. She got on at 2.5 miles. The route was actually 2.75. But when we got to 2.5, she said, I did it. I said, yes, ma'am. So we brought it in on the golf cart. So she made it. She did her what she wanted at 2.5. Are we ready for the raising of the Juneteenth flag? All right. So I want to give you guys what the Juneteenth flag symbolizes, so we understand. All right. So the star represents, the white in the center represents Texas, because Juneteenth did happen in Texas. So, but the big starburst around it is the nova that freedom travels everywhere. All right?
And then the arc, which is the thing that separates the red and the blue, extends the width of the flag, represents the new horizon, because we now have to think about the future. It's not about the past. We know what happened, but over the horizon, we have to look to the future because we have to make it better. And the blue, the white is the African Americans today who are still fighting for equality and justice. And the red is, of course, for the blood of our ancestors on which we stand. And the blue is for the peace that transcends all understanding. So as we prepare to salute and raise the Juneteenth flag and the Black National Anthem, Jones Moreau.
march on to victory is won. Till victory is won. One more time, everybody. Sing the song whenever.
And what you will be seeing here is the Juneteenth flag raising ceremony. And just my goodness, what we have seen today is just truly incredible. That flag itself was created in 1997 by activist Ben Haith, founder of the National Juneteenth Celebration Foundation, with the help of illustrator Gina Graff. And you were hearing there what that flag symbolizes, what it means. It recognizes the day and the joy of Juneteenth with its powerful influence over our nation.
Yeah, the raising of the flag is the end of Opal's walk for freedom, but just the beginning of the Juneteenth celebration. You heard Opal Lee there say, hey, I want this to go on all through July 4th, but the festivities will continue at Panther City Pavilion. We are watching now the raising of the Juneteenth flag there at Fort Worth City Hall. You heard, let's talking about what the symbolism of this flag is. The white star that you see there in the middle represents the state of Texas. That is why we celebrate Juneteenth, because it was in 1865 when those who were enslaved in this state finally learned that they were free. 2.5 years after Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, the starburst around the white star is the nova. That freedom travels everywhere, and then the arc we see reflects the new horizon, the future. This is, we heard from Opal Lee, Laura, just incredible. Here she walked all that way. She was strong. Her voice came out strong and ready. I think with a little bit of air conditioning, probably a good drink of some iced tea, she could have gone another mile.
And what I loved what she said to us, she left us with a charge, right? So
Yeah.
we watched all of this, and now what's next? She said, go out and change someone's mind.
Yes, yeah.
There are people out there who, you know, they don't think the right things, so go out and change their mind.
Yeah, be a committee of one. You be that voice. And just, you know, she is there. We're watching it, of course, from a distance, but just to, you know, just for a moment, Laura, to see it through her eyes, to feel what she is feeling has just got to be incredible. I think, Laura, that she has an idea of the difference that she's made, but she wants to make even more change. She's not done. There's more work to be done.
It's truly remarkable. Dr. Opal Lee, doesn't have a bad bone in her body. You can see that there.
Yeah.
She has lifted herself out of pain. As you said, her family home burned to the ground because people didn't like the color of their skin.
Right.
And she has somehow turned that around, that pain into purpose. And look at what we're seeing right now. All these people gathered together to celebrate her, to celebrate Juneteenth, but I think this is also a celebration of Dr. Opal Lee.
Yeah.
Look what she did.
Yeah, I think so too, Laura. And of course, we wouldn't be here without her. She was the one leading the charge. And our Brittany Johnson is with Opal Lee right now at the end of today's journey, but definitely more to come. How is she feeling right now, Brittany?
And she said, I don't know if you remember this, she said, honestly,
Hey there, we are getting ready to speak to
but
Miss
I
Opal
knew
for the
that I had
final
to
time
try.
here.
And I got to tell you, we've all got to hold on to that because all of us face our own
We're getting ready to
challenges.
speak to Miss Opal
Those
for
things
the
that we have to
final
overcome.
time here.
Those things
You can
that
see
we
she's
want
listening to
do
speakers
may
who have
be
all come
possible,
to
but we
celebrate
may not achieve.
here
We
with
don't
her, and they're
know
having their final
unless
remarks
we
here, like
try
you see
right
Beto will
now.
work on stage.
More
But
than
as soon
any person
as
I
he's
know
done,
in
we're
the
going
state of
to
Texas.
hear her final
Miss
remarks. We know
Opal
that
Lee
she's
is
had an
bringing
opportunity to
United States of
change.
America
She has put on
closer
her
to its
T-shirt.
promise and its
She has
potential
thanked the
as it was
crowd
first
for
laid out
everyone who has been here
246
today
years
to
ago.
help us
So
get to
let's
this
hear it for
point.
Miss Opal Lee, our hero.
Miss Opal Lee, thank you so much for allowing all of us to be here with you on this day. People have watched this all over the country, and they have marched with you all over the country. And so we just appreciate you so much for being here and inspiring all of us. Anything you would like to share to all those folks who've been there all morning and all these years?
You need to get out the hot sun. Listen, young people, it's left up to you. It's left up to you to get us to the promised land. And when I say the promised land, I'm talking about freedom. I'm talking about freedom for everybody. I'm talking about freedom from joblessness and homelessness and some people who can get health care and others can't. And climate change. Oh, what we're doing to our earth is despicable. And it's our fault. And we're going to end up going to hell in a handbasket.
All right. Ready?
It's your responsibility to change somebody's mind.
That's right.
And you know there are people who aren't on the same page you are on. And if people can be taught to hate, they can be taught to love.
Thank you so much, Dr. Opal Lee. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. All right, you ready? Let's go get you the cool. Thank you, everybody.
And with that, get out of the hot sun. Thank you all for joining us today and for making Juneteenth the celebration it should be.
Yeah, I definitely want to thank Brittany Johnson, our colleague at NBC5, the NBC station in Dallas-Fort Worth. She made that 2.7-mile walk from Evans Plaza there to City Hall. Just an incredible crew who helped make it happen as well.
We also want to thank Heal America for presenting Opal's Walk for Freedom, JCPenney and Noom for being our national sponsors, and all the incredible sponsors for their help to making this year's walk one to remember. We also want to thank our station, NBC5 here in Dallas-Fort Worth, and LX News for live streaming the program on multiple platforms, including Peacock, and to LX News for broadcasting the program over the air in the markets across the United States. And to all the people behind the scenes that you can't see that made this happen today, thank you.
Yeah, we have enjoyed being your host for this incredible celebration. My name is Deborah Ferguson.
And I'm Laura Harris. Until next year, as Dr. Opal Lee always says, let freedom reign, y'all.